Drumroll finishes, and the target is hit.
And it comes on finals night, and it's a knockout
Brilliant! Dirty Harrison! Van Velzen!
Double 10. Oh, that's magnificent!
He's barely put a foot wrong. Let's find out if he's 4 from 4. There you have it.
He will behind in this one. Is this the start of the comeback? It could be.
It's forward propulsion, and because it's tapered away, he doesn't have to grip the dart so hard. He uses the taper as part of the grip.
Gets the ball this time.
Scott Baker, 118. Big 18. He's such a rhythm player. Hello, good evening. Welcome along to your second dosage of darts here at the Modus Super Series on this Thursday. Tonight, Group B gets underway here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, and it should be fast and it should be furious. A few of the stars from the recent ADC Global Championship will be in action for you, and we're going to see how Mervyn King is going to bounce back from the disappointments of Group A yesterday. And we're going to be doing it in the company of the asset, Paul Nicholson. There's quite an intriguing look to this lineup tonight. One thing it's definitely not going to lack is a little bit of pace.
That's true. Charlie Martin likes to get on with it. I know that Mervyn's not a particularly slow player, but when you throw in Scott Baker to any group, I guess, it does gain an average speed per player a little bit more. But that's a good thing because Scott is great to watch. So blink and you will miss it tonight.
This afternoon was all about Steve West. 5 wins out of 5 in Group C, and at times 2-ton plus averages. He looked scintillating.
Yeah, at times looked very dependable. The first start was so much better. His doubling was a lot crisper. So going to bed tonight, he's going to be thinking, okay, job done for today. But like he said to you in his interview after his last match, the job isn't done yet. He's still got to come back at around 10, 11 in the morning and prepare well for a second day where he's got to finish the job and make another Saturday.
Well, this is how the table looks. Steve West top of it, 10 points to his name. 4 clear, Tommy Lishman and Rennie Idams. They both find themselves on 6 points going into Friday's action, and that's going to get underway from 1 o'clock here on Pluto TV. So that's how Group C ended up this afternoon, but it's all about Group B. This is how the tournament bracket looks. If it's the first time that you've joined us this week, Jamie Atkins won Group A on Wednesday afternoon, and Group B is going to be in the middle of your picture. That's what you're going to be watching tonight. Mervyn King and Max de Jong alongside Charlie Martin, James Richardson and Scott Baker. Intriguing night, intriguing group, as I mentioned, in terms of pace, but I suppose the big question mark is Mervyn King. How is he going to respond from that setback in Group A?
Yeah, I think he'll accept the fact that he was 1 game short, and we've seen 2 people in Group A have perfect days. Mervyn had that on Monday for a great start, but he was going through a process of deterioration a little bit on Tuesday and Wednesday. As people improved against him, he did find himself in a winning position to get the Group 1, but lost out to someone who had their best performance of the week against him. So when you think about it philosophically, actually, he didn't lose that game. He was toppled by someone who had one of the best performances of the week and indeed the whole series. So Jamie Atkins deserved to win that game and the group. And now he has more experience of playing the evening sessions here, which might be crucial by the end of the week.
Charlie Martin had such a profitable 2024 on the ADC Tour, got through to the Tour Championship final, played at the Global Championship. What are we expecting to see from him as we move into 2025?
I'd like to see more of the same. And it's pretty strange to say this at the early stage of the season, but I want to see more of him. I want to see him as a regular here in Portsmouth and regularly challenging. He's got a very good level of ability, and I think when you stick him up against someone like Mervyn, for instance, I'll be interested to see how he handles playing someone of his note.
And then in terms of James Richardson, also saw him at the Global Championship. Didn't quite make the statement that he would have liked to in that competition, but you get the sense that that's going to be where he's going to plot his path this year. And this is somewhere where he's made finals before, but you feel like with his talent and what he's done in the game, he would have liked a weekly win here on the CV.
Yeah, if you look at some of the weekly champions, with no disrespect to anybody, you look at Robert Thornton, who hasn't won a Modus Super Series week. He has won a Double Trouble, of course, but you can put James in the same bracket as Martin Adams, Robert Thornton, who haven't won a week in this format of an actual series. So he's one of the best players that hasn't, but will we be seeing that by the end of the week? He's hoping not.
Well, let's have a look at the odds then, see what the bookies think about tonight's action. Mervyn King goes off the 8-11 favourite, and a really heavy favourite as well at 8-11. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a little surprised that Charlie's equally second favourite. I mean, Max de Jong at times on Tuesday and Wednesday was excellent. So 11-2, that does present a little bit of value. But Richardson, the outsider, that's peculiar. And I know he might not be in his most vintage form, but he's always hard-working, always ready to go. But Mervyn being that short is surprising. I think he should be the favourite, but not that short.
It is 18 plus. It is gambleaware.org if you're going to have a flutter on the Super Series this evening. But it's Scott Baker who's going to be involved in our first match of the night. He's taking on Max de Jong, the Dutchman who qualified for Group B following his exploits in Group A yesterday. But it's the Modus who's looking to win a first weekly title here at the Live Lounge Reports. There's been a few semi-finals that have come and gone for him. And early on tonight, I caught up with him. Scott, here we go again. Another campaign for yourself here at the Super Series. How much are you looking forward to the next couple of days?
Always looking forward to it. It's great to have the invites as always. Just hope I put on a good enough show for you all.
How have the darts been in the last few months since we've seen you last?
Steady. I'm happy with, my performances. But there's always room to improve, I suppose. But yeah, I'm happy with the way I'm going.
In terms of yourself, this is somewhere where you've had a good record in the past. What is it about this building that brings some of the good stuff out of Scott Baker?
I don't know. I think maybe the players, maybe the surroundings, the playing area. I don't know. It's always been nice, been good to me. So I just love it down here. It's really good.
When you look at that practice room and you look at some of the names that are in it, I suppose you're under no illusions about how tough a task this is going to be. Yeah,
I never get an easy week, to be fair. But yeah, them good bunch of lads, like we know each other and so, but yeah, like I said, you never get any easy opponents, so you just got to see what happens on the stage.
Is that part of the challenge that you embrace?
Yeah, I like that. I'd rather play the better players. I mean, no disrespect to any player out there, but you want to play the best to be the best, so bring them on.
And of course, that Champions Week carrot being dangled once again for yourself.
Oh, that'd be amazing. It's just one of them things. Every time I'm in, I'm finding myself in the semis, and yeah, I'm dying to get through. I mean, just to make a final, let alone win one. But yeah, it'd be amazing to make Champions Week and try and mix it up with them guys. But we'll see what happens.
Well, we look forward to watching you play, Scott. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Well, mixing it with the best is something that Scott Baker's been doing for the best part of a decade now, looking to take the next step here at the Super Series. His first assignment tonight, the Dutchman Max de Jong, his second appearance here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. His previous one came around about this time last year, but he was unable to make it through to the weekly finals night. By putting himself into Group B, he's given himself a better chance than he did before, where he played in the Group C setting. 3 from 5 make their way through this particular group, and he'll be hoping to be one of the 6 players that makes it through to the big money night. For Scott Baker, it's somewhere he's been a few times in his Super Series career, looking to make it through to that first elusive final after a couple of semi-final appearances. He looks as if he's in a good mood. He looks very much settled on the stage. Does the mod from the Midlands. There we go, 3-time semi-finalist, 38 years of age, from Tipton. Him and Jamie Hughes both coming from the same neck of the woods, up against the 33-year-old from Leiden in the Netherlands, Max de Jong, making his second appearance here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth.
Game on.
We are about to get underway. It's game 1 of 10 that we're broadcasting to you live tonight here on Pluto TV in the United Kingdom and across associated territories. Paul Nicholson is alongside me to talk through every single dart, and one thing that we're going to get from this group, you sense, is a rat-a-tat-tat pace.
58.
It's a bit of a shame we haven't got Jono in this group because it could have been rat-a-tat-plat.
45.
Yeah, it will be swift. So as long as you don't blink, you won't miss much. But it's interesting when Scott's talking about making a final.
44.
Some people make a final or even win on debut. Others, they have to keep going at it to try and get there. Now, one person
140.
who did make a final on debut was a certain Andy Bartons. And curiously, he lost to Luke Littler that night. And when Scott Baker made his
93.
World Championship debut in 2018, it was against Andy Bartons. He has since gone to the tour where Scott has been before.
97.
But his sole mission this week is to go one step further and then re-establish a goal, hopefully, within about 10 minutes.
$59.
Well, Baker here's got 6 starts on 176 to take out the opening leg on throw. I don't see as much of him in and around the circuit as we
140.
used to, but when we do see him, we still see a very high level, and he's left himself on a double here for what will be a very comfortable hole to kick off his night.
125. Scott
Max
Car,
won't
36.
panic because he's against the darts in this opener. Baker looking at double 9,
Game
finds
show
the
the
double
first
9
leg,
into
Scott
the
Baker.
bottom corner to take a 1-0 lead.
Second leg, Max to throw first. Game on.
Baker is a very common name, obviously, in English-speaking countries. But if you were to go to the neck of the woods where Max is
97.
from, you might see a few de Bakkers, which is what Baker is in Dutch speak. Recently at the Belgian Darts
125.
Open, we had Patrick de Bakker. Couldn't really tempt myself away from saying when he had back-to-back 180s are called back-to-back 180s.
134.
Well, we do know that dart players do like to give themselves a pat on the back.
76.
You can if you can get 10 points in this group. 8 games, 2 points per win. Obviously nothing if you
95.
lose. But if you can get to 10 points, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, that's the magic formula for Group B success here.
100.
Super Series. And Scott Baker's pretty much done it in terms of getting out of groups from any which way possible. He's just become accustomed to any single part of the Super Series circuit over the last couple of years.
95.
Well, this is the thing about the Modus Super Series for Scott because it suits his life.
100.
A full-time dart
Max
schedule doesn't
Rucker,
suit
80.
everybody. But coming here maybe 3 times a year, perfect. And let's face it, Scott is always welcome because he's fast, he's quick, he's friendly. There is nothing to dislike about Scott Baker.
40. Scott
And he
Car,
doesn't like
100.
that. Sorry, he doesn't dislike that shot from Max de Jong. He was undecided on 80 with 2 darts there. I think that's why he missed it.
So de Jong will come back for tops to level this match up at 1 apiece. He's got a great guide. Can he follow it underneath? No is the answer. And so
8.
Baker's going to come
Stop
back.
the
He's got a
car,
great chance
75.
here. Look at it. 75 to go 2-0 to the good. Tops.
55. Max Car, 32.
Well, that was a little different, wasn't it? Was he going for treble 15, double 15?
Well, Luke Littler once went for double 15, and now everybody's at it, including that man there, Max de Jong. Okay, it's double 16 this time round, but how many times has he got treble 17 first start on 81 this week?
No score.
But he cannot find
Scott
free in
Car,
hand there. He's
20.
with 6 starts at a double here, Max de Jong, over the course of these first couple of legs, and Baker's got a chance to intercept, to get the break. Cannot find double 10.
No score.
Well, if you were going to ask me if he was going to hit that
Car,
with dart
32.
3, if it was a 50-50 call, I would have said no because it was a really difficult shot. with about 32 grams of tungsten in the way. This is not an easy shot.
No score.
Proven there by 3 more misses at double
20.
16.
9 darts in 2 legs missed by Max de Jong. Baker looking to pick the pieces up on double 10. How many more arduous darts is he going to have at that target? And eventually he finds,
shown on
and
the
it's
second
right
leg,
in the
Scott
middle of the
Baker.
bed. Baker with a 2-0 lead. He's got the
Third
break.
leg, Scott to
Didn't
through
need one in
first.
this match,
Game on.
but it's given him a real air of comfortability.
There you see that jabby style of Baker.
60.
Has to have that prod as part of the action. It's quite a lot of dart players actually do that, but there's a different level of it. Some people do a marginal
100.
prod that is just maybe a centimetre, but when it comes to Scott Baker, it's more like 2 or 3 inches.
140.
The one that accentuates that the most is probably Andy Hamilton. He gets to address, pokes the dart towards the board, and then slowly draws it back, and then flows through.
100.
But with Baker, it's always one movement. There's no stopping.
$137.
He's travelled the BDO circuit to get points to get to Lakeside in the past. He's been on the PDC Pro Tour. Made a semi-final on the Pro Tour shortly after getting his card.
93. Scott Car 164.
But at this level of darts, it's almost surprising he hasn't got more success.
122.
Before we even get to talking about where people are after night one, I expect Scott Baker to qualify based on reputation alone.
Which is probably why the 5-1 on
90.
him was,
Got the car,
in my opinion, as
42.
much a surprise as anybody else being laid at heavy odds. Max Young could be at odds of his opponent here if Baker can
Yeah,
find
he's shown
double
the third
16. He
leg,
can.
Scott
That's much
Baker.
more like it. 3-0 to the good. Not playing anywhere near his
Fourth leg
best.
Max to through first.
But if
Game
he
on.
can wrap up victory here, he will take it for starters.
Now, this is the kind of performance we saw from Max in his last game of Group A. It was mystifying. And this off the back of some really good stuff on Tuesday and Wednesday morning.
93.
I sincerely hope that that game on Wednesday afternoon hasn't damaged his confidence. It didn't have any bearing on where he went.
95.
He wasn't going to win the group. But when he lost to Michael Huntley to 0, we were all surprised, including Max de Jong.
140.
Well, de Jong has been playing around the 1 treble per visit mark, where
43.
Scott Baker, more often than not, has just been able to find that little bit more than his opponent in terms of the scoring stakes in this match.
93.
I don't know about you, Henry, but does it seem to you like Max de Jong's a little slower tonight?
59.
Slower might be seen as a negative word. It looks a bit more deliberate. That delay on the drawback seems to be slower.
140.
It might just be him building up to the pace that he wants.
100. Max your car
Also, I
35.
think it's very difficult to analyse when you're playing somebody as quick as Scott Baker as well.
Yeah, it might be a visual illusion. He might look slower because he's playing one of the paciest players in world darts.
7.
Well, luckily for Max, Scott is nowhere to be seen in this particular leg. And cannot
60.
pick off a treble there.
Max
So
your car 28.
3 more in his hand, a double 14 to reduce the gap back down to 3-1. To get himself at least on the board in this match.
21. Scott the car
This would be some way
144.
to wrap it up.
Not going to be, but that 7 is going to feel really
96.
difficult right
Max
now.
to your car 7.
Because he's not played well in this game. He hasn't doubled well at all. He's missed 14 shots.
Free for double 2 to get on the board. And if he doesn't take this chance, then Scott Baker's back for the match, but he eventually
Gage
finds the
on the
double
fourth
2.
leg,
It's his
Max de Jong.
16th time of asking on the double, and eventually De Jong
leg
gets
Scott
a
to
leg
throw
on the
first,
board,
game
but
on.
Baker now with the darts for the match.
When your percentage is not even in double figures, that's never a good thing. The only upside
99.
in this game so far is that he has had 16 darts at a double. Which actually, if you think about it positively, I've had chances. I'm trying to put a positive spin on this.
100.
But then again, you're thinking to yourself, I've had 16 darts at a double and 3-1 down, so I've done a lot wrong.
43.
Well, the only thing I will say for Max is at least it's in the opening game of the evening. He can dust it down very quickly. Takes on James Richardson in his next match. That's game 4 of the evening session. Richardson's up next against
59.
Mervyn King. We'll see him for the first time since his disappointment to Group A yesterday afternoon.
Yes, by virtue
100.
of finishing 3rd in Group A, he gets game 1, game 4, game 7, and then the last game of the night. Or should we say, the game of tomorrow morning. I'm really intrigued to see what we get
45.
from Mervyn King in his last game against Scott Baker in game 9, because, like I've said on the broadcast this afternoon, I don't remember a time where Mervyn's played post-midnight.
99.
Even for somebody of the experience of Mervyn King, it's a brand new feeling, a brand new territory for him. Baker in control of this leg on his throw, and he's going to have a
31.
look here.
Shot to car.
At 160 to win the match 4-1.
And judging by Max's situation here,
100.
he hasn't just got the luxury of 2 visits to win the match. He might have had the luxury of hitting 3 single 20s, then another 3 single
58.
20s to leave tops and
Shot to
taking
car
3.
60.
And it just so happens that he would have.
It's double top for Baker.
20.
Clips the wire, bends the wire, but cannot find a way through. Scott himself has missed 10 darts at a double in this game. It's been far from a clean performance from his perspective as well. But he's
45.
been able
Shot to
to
car
hold his
40.
nerve a little bit better than his opponent, and De Jong has left himself on a bogey.
Getting shot on
So
the match,
Baker
Scott
with
Baker.
plenty of time, and he only needed that 1 dart there at double top to round off a 4-1 success. It wasn't the most spellbinding of performances from Scott Baker, but what it was more than enough to claim the points. That's the tail of the tape. Really, it's the 4th column down. The checkouts is the important one. Both players missing a large chunk at the outer ring, but it's Scott Baker who wins 4-1. Coming up after the break is James Richardson up against Mervyn King. Are you ready to lift that trophy, Darius? Yes. Let's do it then. Ladies and gentlemen, your Modus Super Series 9 champion is Lucky D, Darius Lewandowski!
Well, what a wonderful night of darts we have seen, and we are ready. Our champion is ready, and it's trophy time. So receive the trophy. £25,000. The new Modus Super Series champion, the Terminator, Marvin Van Velzen. And one more time, the 8 Series champion, the Terminator, Marvin Van Velzen. And the new Modus Super Series champion is Andreas Dirty Harrison. And one more time, the 7th Modus Super Series champion. Give it up for Andreas Dirty Harrison.
The moment we've all been waiting for. Would you please show your appreciation for your Series 6 Modus Super Series champion, Scott Taylor?
One more time, your new Modus Super Series champion. He is Chucky. He is Jim McEwen.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Modus Super Series champion, retaining his title, the Nuke, Luke Littler!
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series. Before the break, Scott Baker got the better of Max de Jong by 4 legs to 1. Wasn't quite a vintage start to our evening session, but Scott will be happy with the points that he's able to got on the board nonetheless. Game number 2 sees James Richardson and Mervyn King go head-to-head here on the live lounge stage. Mervyn, who narrowly missed out on winning Group A yesterday afternoon, succumbed to Jamie Atkins in the final game of Group A. Up against James Richardson, 3 times a weekly finalist here, was runner-up to Graham Usher once upon a time, the 51-year-old from Rushden. Taking on another man in his 50s, Mervyn King. His first season off the tour, the PDC tour at least, since 2007, making his debut here. And he would have been hoping that he wasn't here tonight. He got off to such a good start in Group A. He won each of his opening 5 matches. It was the perfect start. But things just didn't quite materialise further on in the group. That man there, Paul Hinks, is your referee. He's in charge of all of the action for the remainder of the week.
First leg, James to throw
Full-time.
first.
A World Championship final referee. And a man who would have taken charge of many of these 2's games over the years. Well, we're asking the question, what kind of nick was James
123.
Richardson in? Maybe he's just given us some early indications.
Well, this is a fascinating game, isn't it?
81.
Played between 2 people who are now classed as seniors. Has he answered your question yet?
Well, we know that James Richardson's scoring radar can at times be as good as anybody here.
140.
I think Mervyn is under no illusion that this group is going to be just as hard, if not harder, than Group A.
58.
He's not expecting to make Saturday just by turning up. He knows he's going to have to play well. And let's remind everybody that James Richardson was the outsider
43.
of the 5.
James Yukar, 140.
If he saw that, I guarantee you one thing. He won't have liked it at all.
100.
Well, if it was something that gave him venom, well, it's most certainly done so, because it's left him, well, he's left himself, shall I say, on tops after just 12 darts to take out the opening leg of this match.
99. James Yukar,
King
40.
leaves himself on a finish, but Richardson, looking to cap off, was been a very strong opening leg on throw.
King
13
showed the first
darter.
leg, James Richardson.
That's some way to kick off the evening.
Isn't it just?
Second leg, Mervyn to throw first. Game on.
Way to set the tone, James. Well, here's a somewhat serendipitous thing, Henry. These guys have met away from the Super Series 3
96.
times. This is, of course, their first meeting here because it's Mervyn's debut week. But it's exactly 14
60.
years today since their first meeting. It was in Crawley at Players' Championship 6, and on that occasion, Mervyn won by 6 legs to 2. They would then play
42.
again 3.5 years later at Coventry in a Players' Championship. Mervyn would win that 6 legs to 5. So you can see that
100.
James is getting closer to Mervyn the more times he plays him. Well, actually, their next meeting after that was another 5 years later at the European Darts Grand Prix in Sindelfingen.
83.
And in their last 2 meetings, it's 1-1. But curiously, both tournaments were won by the same player.
21.
It was Ian White. Ian White won that Players' Championship in Coventry in 2014, and he won on the Euro Tour in 2019 at Sindelfingen.
60.
But that game, just outside of Stuttgart, it was brilliant. Richardson won it 6-3. They both averaged over 100.
180.
Well, the scoring here for James Richardson is absolutely superb. 2 180s, 103 average so far. He's left himself on a finish again after 12. He's threatening the Mervyn King throw. And he's going to get 6 darts because
James
that
Ricard, 140.
unkind rejection means that King's on 180, Richardson 140.
Don't go tops. I know he's always tempted to go the
63.
aggressive route. That's what James's game is all about. But every now and again, you've just got to do the wise thing. He did go for the 60.
100.
But he's found himself
James Ricard,
on a tricky
77.
2-darter here. Potentially 3. Double top.
37.
Not a bad
Mervyn
try at all.
Ricard, 80.
So King here looking at 80 to square this contest up at 1 apiece. This will be a bit of a sickener here for James, who had a great opportunity to break, and he's
75.
going to get 3 in his hand
James
to do
Ricard,
exactly that
40.
after Mervyn misses a couple himself to level up.
2 5s.
30.
And they've both
Mervyn
missed it.
Ricard, 5.
Oh, how things can change.
No score.
That one is missed by
James
a good
Ricard,
inch.
10.
He was not going for the treble one, trust me.
Well, already tonight we've seen a few edgy legs on doubles. We're seeing another one here, but who can hold their nerve?
No score.
I'm
Mervyn
surprised he
Ricard,
missed that one.
5.
You can see what he was trying to do. He's trying to clatter it in off the barrel, but I think it's found one of the tunnels on the flight that he didn't want.
Getting shot in the second leg.
That had
Mervyn
some
King.
authority. Now, what I mean
Third
by
leg, James
tunnels
to
of the
third
flight,
first.
this is
Game
important
on.
because of the angles of attack. You can see that both players have got flights that have 4
43.
wings. Now, I have to emphasise that because there are players who only have 3. Connor Scott, Devon Peterson has tried those flights as well. Which means there are 4 quadrants, which we call tunnels,
140.
for darts to collect with the flights. World-class players use those tunnels to try and nestle the darts together, just like that.
140.
If you go for one tunnel, but then get the one over the top of it, the dart's going to go over the top. So it's really important to know how your darts are sitting on the
96.
board.
And James really is the perpetual
60.
first dart merchant. And that first goes in and it sits in at a lovely angle. He's got so much room for manoeuvre at darts 2 and 3. That for Mervyn, well, that was the perfect place he'd want dart 1. And as soon as dart 2 hit, there was only ever going to be one outcome, and that was going to be the third 180 of this match and the first that Mervin's found. Richardson kicked off this game with a 13 darter. Mervyn King is threatening a break in 4 visits here. But that's a far from ideal first dart. Treble 17, the location of dart 2 to find double 16.
53.
Not to be on this occasion, and so Richardson will come back looking at 158 to get himself back in front. He needed something spectacular. He's not going to find the goods. In fact, he's going to make a bit of a mess of it.
64. Moving to car 32.
Not so long ago, James was in command of this game, averaging over 100.
No score.
He could still be leading.
94.
Oh, that was courageous. Could he not
79.
find the
Moving to
54
car
in his own
32.
mind? I'm not really sure how that could have gone worse for James. Well, he could have busted the score. That could have been worse.
Well, this would add insult to injury if King can find double 16. Now, this is awkward.
No score.
You can see with dart 3.
Car 15.
That's a carbon copy of the previous visit. 2 4s for a 2-1 lead.
Getting shown the
It's
third leg,
unexpected,
James Richardson.
but he will welcome it. Now, one thing to note as
Fourth leg
well,
moving
as
to
the
third
weather
first.
improves
Game
here
on.
in the UK, especially on the south coast, we are going to be changing the clocks at the end of the week. So the daylight times are going to change. Over the course of the next few
100.
weeks, the temperatures will change as well for the better. But speaking to Scott Baker earlier tonight, when he was having a practice on the stage, he says it's warm up here.
60.
And it will be warm on this stage for the next 6 months.
140.
But like they all say, we'd rather be a little bit warm than a little bit chilly.
60.
Well, hopefully the darts are going to heat up from this point, because so far we haven't really seen too much in terms of real high quality. Well, the 13 dart from James Richardson in the opening leg of this match, and we thought, okay, here we go.
60.
And that is mightily unlucky. Not just one goes a begging, but 2 go a begging for Mervyn King.
That was ridiculous luck. That's what happens when you've got a dart in the 60 or 2 and you hit one of them
100.
so violently before it hits the board that it just takes it out.
$99.
It does look like Mervyn's darts are going in slightly more upright than Group A. I don't know whether he's changed the weighting of the dart or maybe something's different in his grip.
55.
But
Moving
even
to
with
car
2 dots on the
102.
floor, he's still got a lead of 124.
Well, you're seeing the funny side of it is Merv.
82.
This is a good segue, actually, because what a lot of people don't see from the King is his whimsical side.
80.
I will give
Moving
you
to car
2
20.
stories tonight that prove that he's up for a bit of a joke. Other side. Very
Getting
well
shown
hit.
the fourth leg,
2-2.
Mervyn King.
Now, here's a story for you. I think you might enjoy this
Fifth leg,
because it
James
was at
to
my
first.
expense.
Game on.
Mervyn and I sat together for many years when we were on the Pro Tour together. And I used to get a regular delivery of
80.
eggs from Peter Wright because he has chickens. And as a result of that, some phenomenal eggs. So his wife Jo would give me
139.
the eggs and I would leave them on the table and I would take them with me when I go home. I was a very avid practicer at Pro Tour events. I would go up
121.
there for about an hour. Mervyn thought it would be funny to take one of the eggs. And he knew I'd be up at the practice board for a while. He then went to the kitchen of the Barnsley Metrodome and said, "Can you boil
177.
this for me?" He had it done, and then he put it back in the carton I didn't realise that the egg had been
60.
hard-boiled until I got home. So I had 5 eggs, not 6. And that was Mervyn's little practical joke on me. But that wasn't the only one he played. Stay tuned for another story.
60.
He thought that was hilarious, and so did I, actually, because he didn't admit to it for about 2 or 3 weeks.
100. Moving the car 125.
Well, this may well egg him on to victory here if he can find the 125. Well, that's another one. He had a little bit of a problem with this early on in the week as well.
45.
The only thing that's working in his favour is the fact that James has been unable
140.
to apply any kind of pressure up until now. But he's not going to find the second trouble there to give himself a dart at double 10. And so King,
100. Moving your car 80.
could get his nose in front at 3-2 if he can find this 80. And he'd then have the darts from this point onwards to win the match. Now, top's top straight away for Merv.
Game shot
I
the
think
fifth
that's a
leg.
very
Mervyn
wise
King.
plan. He's had some trouble on the 60. He's had some trouble on the bullseye. He's trying a different
6 leg
route
moving you through first. Game on.
with big sections. I think that was a very wise play from a very wise dart player. When Mervyn plays his second game against Charlie Martin, I'm going to give you a
45.
choice of Mervyn King stories. You can either have another egg story,
140.
or you can have the story about the hat. So get in touch with us on social media. Would you like the story about the egg or the hat?
Why do we have to have only one?
Are you talking about you want a story per game?
57.
Yes.
Okay, I'll try and think of another one so you can have one when he plays against Scott Baker as well. Stay tuned, everyone.
81.
Excellent
134.
2 trebles there for Mervyn King. But Richardson will feel like he's half taken the darts in this important 6th leg.
60. $134. 100.
Now, what does Mervyn do on
Moving the car
131?
131.
Is it old school or new school? New school. So he's got 54 left here.
91. Change your car
Now,
120.
Richardson is a bit of a tops master, but I don't expect him to go 3 times. Just the once. For a tied match.
100.
And now it could be the end.
Moving your car 40.
Because King comes back for tops, free in hand to get his Group B campaign up and running with a victory.
Game
No
shot of the
mistake.
fifth match. Mervyn King.
Mervyn King up and running in this Group B. He's got the better of James Richardson by 4 legs to 2. Another game which was played by a number of missed doubles on the pair. Richardson got off a 13 dart start but couldn't replicate that quality for the rest of the contest. King, a 4-2 victor. Those are stats. Those are numbers from our second game of the evening session. Coming up after the break, we're going to see Charlie Martin for the first time as he takes on Scott Baker, and that's going to be live on the other side of this short break.
Charlie McGuire, 164. 44. 32. Charlie McGuire, 120.
Well, 120. He's got a fair at least 2 handfuls at this. Just needs to stay
60.
there. That's a good shot. Halves his score, leaves himself on a 2-darter.
$26. Charlie, you
Time on his
require
side
60.
to become back-to-back singles champion.
$40.
Definitely a couple of nerves in those last 2 darts, but he'll be coming back.
The moment he's been in before this situation. Standing at the back of the stage,
Charlie, you
approaching the
require
Oki with a
20.
chance to win the title.
He did this to win the first title, if you remember.
11.
I think he's gone.
Georgia
I think
require
he's gone to
180.
bust it, maybe. The first title he wanted 20. He went 6-7-7 to win it. He had a chance to replicate it again.
Yeah, I get the feeling that was for a bust, and
39.
on that
Charlie,
situation there,
you
George
require
Gave wasn't even
9.
able to take it out going to the 18s on that switch.
Yeah, I think he just panicked a bit, but he's done well to get that big one.
Sometimes can be the hardest part.
Georgia requires
This is it.
79.
It's got to be 19s. It's got to be 19s for this shot. Big 20 and a double. He's got the first one. He's going to get a match dart here.
$59. Charlie,
Threw
you
the entire
require
body into that
8.
one. Just didn't want to let go of the dart.
No score.
He's given George a chance.
Georgia require 20.
I think George has been quite good on double 10 today.
So many opportunities for Charlie Murphy.
Go
Couldn't get the job done.
Got in the match! And the Red Dragon
George
Modus
Skate.
Super Series Influencers Champion, George Skate!
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where before the break, Mervyn King got the better of James Richardson by 4 legs to 2 in our second match of the evening session. Third on the menu for us, Charlie Martin and Scott Baker go head-to-head here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. For Baker, he's already played tonight. He got the better of Max de Jong by 4 legs to 1. As for Charlie Martin, it's the first time we've seen him here in Portsmouth since the Global Championship last year. It's only his second appearance in the Super Series format, but has played here on a number of occasions in the ADC. Up against Scott Baker here for the second time tonight. Looking to make it 2 wins and 2. But it's an evening so far which we expected big things from, but hasn't yet delivered.
That's extremely fair. Nobody has really ignited the stage yet. So we
Looks
are
like
still
Charlie
waiting
to
for
throw
someone
first.
to do that.
Game on.
Who will that person be? Maybe Scott Baker and Mervyn King can say we've done our job so far,
60.
because they have won their first game. As for performance, not yet.
41.
But ultimately, points on the board is all that's going to matter come the end of this. If Scott Baker can win a couple of games tonight without playing anywhere near his best, he will take it because he finds himself in a decent position. But Charlie Martin made it to the Tour Championship final last year.
140.
Lost out in that final to Andy Bolton. Played at the Global Championship. Didn't quite have the same success there as he did in his previous
91.
appearance, but he's a player that I think is very much on the radar, isn't he, in 2025? We saw good things from him in the ADC. And I suppose the
85.
question is, can he
Carl
back up that
70.
success?
We're about to find out.
$41.
The reception he got that Saturday afternoon in November at the ADC Tour
95.
Finals
Carl
was spine-chilling.
29.
If he makes Saturday from this group The atmosphere here on Saturday is going to be amazing.
77. Scott the car 140.
Baker looking at 140 to take the opening leg. Can't be done on this particular occasion. So Martin will return here.
82. Charlie car
Looking
52.
at 52 to take out this opening leg. It's been a real solid start this for Charlie, but how's his doubling? Because it's been a bit of a problem for his opposition, hasn't it?
12.
And it seems it's a problem that everybody has tonight.
It's infectious. Very infectious.
26. Charlie car 40.
Well, Scott Baker looks disgusted with that shot at tops.
Getting shown the first
He's made
leg,
it pay for the
Charlie
miss.
Martin.
So Martin takes
Second
the
leg,
opening
Scott to
leg.
throw
Scott
first.
Baker
Game
shakes
on.
his head.
Scott Shaker.
97.
That dart shirt hasn't really changed much since he made his debut at Lakeside in 2018.
140.
Seems like a player that finds a formula and he works with a formula. Same with the darts, same with the shirt.
The only thing that changes
100.
are the flights. He started with pear-shaped flights, went to a slightly bigger version, which is known as a
57.
small standard. Now he's throwing a standard flight. But you can see that his darts are very small. The barrel is very short, with a little bit of a bulbous end.
60.
From a ratio perspective, it's not that dissimilar to Luke Humphreys.
137.
Is it going to be one of those games which is going to be dominated by the
140,
player
Scott
throwing first?
26.
Baker leaves himself on 126, level up at 1-1. Single leaves the ball. Another one of them gives himself double
Gains on the
six, and that
second
is
leg, Scott Baker.
spectacular. And that is Scott Baker at his rip-roaring best. Quick fire brilliance,
Third leg, Charlie
ton
to
plus
do first.
checkouts, taken in the blink of an eye, and we are back level at one apiece.
It's almost a shame there has to be a 10-second gap between legs because this game is
43.
very pacey. We expected it to be. It's probably the quickest game of the night. The only
59.
one who's going to go close would be Baker against Richardson, maybe? That's game 6.
Yeah, I'd say probably out of
93.
10, that's going to be the paciest of the lot.
$99.
The attention to detail as well of the image of Baker is very...
$59.
Well, it isn't spoken about enough. Let's put it that way. There is a style that he sticks to. In the winter, he's always got a mod jacket on.
140.
He's always had the mod haircut. He's got the motorbikes or the scooters to prove it. But he's also got the shoes. He wears the kind of shoes that mod people wear.
58.
I'm not going to go down the branding angle, but there's a kind of shoe that a lot of mod people wear called
43.
campers. And they're just like that. They might just look like a black shoe. But there is a mod
58.
shoe out there.
Scott the car 160.
And that's what they look like.
Well, Baker's got 6 here to get the breaker throw.
43.
The thing with Scott Baker is I don't think he means to be a brand. He is just him. But the way that he works the
100.
commodities of the
car
mod
117.
just work so well.
This would cheer him up.
97. Charlie O'Car 90.
He's not happy about something on the stage. It looks like he's working very hard. He's going to get a chance. Oh, no.
No score.
That
Scott
was
O'Car
not what he
20.
wanted. That definitely could have worked out better.
Well, that was a bit of a mess.
Getting
And
shown the
Baker
third
picks
leg,
up the
Scott
pieces.
Baker.
He pins the double 10. And he opens up a 2-1 lead in this contest.
Fourth leg, Scott to through first. Game on.
I don't think I've ever seen Scott Baker look so cheesed off. Especially when he's leading.
Well, he's hardly had to do anything special. And you can argue that this is as below par as we've seen Scott for a little bit here at the Super Series. But at this present moment in time,
57.
it's been more than enough to do a job. And I think that'll be the positive. And I think he is somebody that ultimately
100.
will judge himself on the results that he gets. So from that perspective, he'll be very pleased with what's happening so far. But he'll also know that there is
81.
a lot more to come. There's a lot more in the tank.
Absolutely right. I think Charlie can say the same with the way he's playing at the minute.
100. 100.
Will it feel like there's a big difference between playing ADC Global and Super Series? I don't really think there should be.
If anything, I think Charlie will feel a little bit freer playing in this because the Global Championships, an end-of-year tournament you've worked all year from, there's a lot of pressure that's on the line that comes with that. I'm not saying there's no pressure here, of course there is, but I think he'll be able to flow just a little bit more playing in this compared to a tournament with the name Global in it. Baker pins a double 10, that's a 14 darter to open up a 3-1 lead.
Fifth leg Charlie to throw first. Game on.
Average is starting to climb towards that level that you would expect. Just one more thing on Baker's shoes, by the way, because you might think it's a really weird thing to say,
58.
but it reminds me of something we used to talk about with Daryl Gurney. If you look at what Daryl wears on the Oki,
93.
I didn't quite believe it until somebody told me what he wears. He wears a brand called Kickers. Now,
100.
When I went to school, Kickers are a little bit like that because they have one little red tag and one little green tag, one on the left, one on the right.
35.
We used to wear them at school, and we thought, well, they went out of fashion, didn't think of them again. And then years later, Daryl Gurney walks up to a PDC Pro Tour event with a pair of Kickers on. Where did you get those? And he still wears them now. So where does he get them from?
100.
They were fashionable about 30 years ago.
Joys of eBay.
137.
Thing is, if you find a pair of shoes that work for darts, they give you comfort, and you don't have to think about discomfort.
94.
Keep getting them.
66.
And the days of players playing in shoes are pretty much long gone. A lot of players are playing trainers. That's back-to-back 14s. One for Scott Baker, one for Charlie Martin. Back to 3-2, and Baker here with the darts in his hand to seal a 4-2 success.
Yeah, that's a really good leg from Charlie.
140.
It could be a temporary reprieve. Or is this the start of a charge?
100.
The breaking news from Newcastle is that Luke Littler has beaten Luke Humphries in the final. And Littler at the top of the table is on 26 points.
41.
Humphries now on 18. Van Gerwen on 13 and Price on 12 with Rob Cross. There's
60.
a log jam in the middle, but Luke Littler is in the wind. So congratulations to the two-time Modus Super Series champion.
60.
Luke Littler hit his 100th Premier League 180 tonight in just 8 weeks' worth of competition. To put that into context,
140.
Nobody else has even got to 50.
Well, we got to 100 for the week.
125.
After 3.5 days. And that was through about 50 games?
95. Scott Lucar, 135.
Which is what, probably about 300 legs all told?
Something like that.
49.
That's a bad last start from
Charlie
Scott. He
O'Carr,
knows
106.
it. And Charlie can't pounce on it. But hitting that single
74.
four, it means
Scott
he
Lucar,
might need the
86.
bullseye to win the match right here.
Well, Baker could be back on winning street here if he can find the 86. The bullseye for 2 from 2.
61.
Not to be, and so Martin will return.
Charlie O'Carr,
Looking at
32.
double 16 to take this match all the way to a last leg decider. 32 is what he wants. Now double 8.
Game
Double
shown
8
the
found,
sixth leg,
and we
Charlie
go
Martin.
the distance.
7th and final leg, Charlie to throw first. Game on.
What Charlie's done really well in this game is he's restricted Scott Baker to 1 dart for the match through the first 6 legs, because he was in huge trouble at one point. That 14 darter he found in response to
115.
Scott's is the most important leg he's had so far, just to give him the belief that he can contend in this game.
26.
If he walks away with a victory, he's going to be feeling 10 feet tall.
Some comeback from Martin if he can pull it off. And
83.
importantly for him, he has got the darts in this last leg.
140.
And if the truth be told, I don't quite know who the rightful winner of this game would be.
That's a fair statement.
135.
But from this position, it's more likely to be Charlie than Scott all of a sudden. Or is it?
140.
Well, he's got 6 and 168, but he's probably going to have to get the job completed in those 6 darts he's got. Needs a triple here.
47.
Doesn't get, and now the door's open for Scott Baker.
Now the challenge is laid down to Scott. Can you complete 195 in 2 visits?
133. Charlie O'Carr, 121.
There was an argument for going bull last dart, but he was trying to leave double 12. Bull.
96.
He gets just
Scott
a
O'Carr,
little bit
62.
closer to winning on the bull, and that's how close we've been for both players to win this.
And now Baker gets a couple of match darts. Double 60 to double up his tally. Double 8. Doesn't
54.
go, and so Charlie Martin
Charlie
gets a
O'Carr,
stay of
25.
execution. He gets a reprieve, but he's going to have to take this opportunity at 25. He's going to have to take the double 8. And he
shown the
does.
match,
He
Charlie
only
Martin.
needs the 1 dart to get over the line. He beats Scott Baker by 4 legs to 3. Another game categorised by misses at doubles, but Martin gets the job done. He picks up his first win in his first game of the live now stage. That the tail of the tape. Martin coming back from 3-2 down to secure a 4-3 win. Coming up after the break, Max de Jong looking for his first points, as too is James Richardson. Welcome back to the live lounge here with Portsmouth. You can be here on any given Saturday at the Super Series. And Charlie Martin looking to bring his strong contingent here on Saturday night. He got his campaign up and running with a 4-3 win against Scott Baker before the break. An intriguing battle, that one. Game 4 of the night sees James Richardson and Max de Jong go head-to-head. The winner of this one will claim their first points of this Thursday night session. Richardson going down 4-2 to Mervyn King, whilst Max de Jong lost 4-1 to Scott Baker in his opening match of the night. So the battle lines are drawn in our 4th game of the evening session. Paul the Asset Nicholson is alongside me here in the commentary box to talk all about it. And it should be an intriguing matchup between the pair.
44.
First of all, I'm intrigued to see what kind of Max de Jong we get in this game. He didn't turn up in his first game today.
81.
He didn't turn up in his last game come Wednesday. He's going to have to turn up soon. Because even though James Richardson did not beat Mervyn King,
59.
at times he was the better player in that match. If he recreates that and Max does not show up, there's only one winner.
Well, the good stuff was better from Richardson, but he was unable to keep it with the stuff in between. It was either all there or nothing was there altogether from his perspective.
That's more like it. We haven't had that many 180s tonight. Should go 18s now. Isn't that right, James? Yeah, you should have gone 18s.
95.
Now, why should he have gone 18s? 299, you start 19s. You get a single, you go to 2 treble 20s, leave 160. Everybody knows that.
58.
You get treble 19 leaves 242. Then if you get 4 18s, it leaves 170. So it gives you 2 cracks at the 54.
100. Max Car 160.
I'm going to give credit where credit's due here because it's slowly starting to seep in why people do that. And the one person
85.
who really
James
did make
104.
it mainstream was Jelle Klaassen.
A man who thinks about absolutely everything in his game.
56. Max Car 75.
Looking good. Tops.
35.
It wasn't
James
there, but it was
48.
better than what we've seen from him.
So Richardson looking at 48 for the break. He's looking at double 16 to take a 1-0 lead. It's double 8 now.
40.
Not to be, and so
Max
de Jong is
Car
going
40.
to get opportunities. Now, he missed 15 darts at a double in his opening defeat to Scott Baker. It's a trend that he can ill afford to continue as he looks and stares at the double 10. And gets the double 10.
Shown the first leg,
gets on
Max
the
de
ball,
Jong.
gets the opening leg, as Richardson missed a couple of opportunities himself to
Second
go
leg,
one
James
up.
to throw first. Game on.
But if we are being fair to these players at this level, they should not be missing an amount of darts at double in a
100.
match that can complete a leg of darts. So I'm going to be fair to these players. If they're going to be competitive, on average, the most they should miss
45.
at double in a match is 8. Meaning if you're 4 from 12, you are 33%.
60.
You will not find one player who comes through these doors that will refute that. Because they will know they have to be 1 out of 3, if not better. So if you're missing 15 darts at a double in your
125.
first game, prepare to be defeated. It's as simple as that.
$140.
That is a rather glorious 140. But there's one thing you should know about James. When he's stepping left, he's just as comfortable as he is being central.
55.
So Richardson has 6 darts here from 2 and 1 to level this match up at 1 apiece. Looking at another.
85.
Cannot find, but still in a very handy position. It's been a little bit up and down for Max so far. There's been glimmers of okay stuff in the scoring stakes, but there's also been legs where he's been comprehensively outscored by his opponent.
57. James Ricard 116.
It is tops.
76.
He's playing very positively in this game. There's another level of intensity for James. Probably, in fact, 2 more levels.
58. James Ricard 40.
But he's pacing himself here. Doesn't need that other level of intensity just yet. He's trying to figure out an angle.
20.
He
Max
was
Ricard
wondering if he should go left or
161.
right and try and slide it down the barrel. Decided not to.
$57. James Ricard 20.
Back for double 10 to level up at 1 apiece.
Game shot on
And
the
for Max
second
de
leg,
Jong,
James Richardson.
it's not gone to plan tonight. I know he's leveling this game at 1 apiece, but the levels so
Third
far
leg, Max
not
to through
been up to
first.
the standard
Game
that
on.
we've seen from him in Group A.
Not at all. Between Tuesday morning and the middle of Wednesday, he was playing some fabulous stuff. So much so, I think
59.
the guy we've seen tonight is an imposter.
Does he look like he's reined in? Because he played with the shackles off on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we saw some good stuff as a result of it. Are we seeing a man who is
125.
not letting himself off the leash? He's kind of playing within himself a little bit.
Yeah, potentially. We haven't spoken to Max this week. So it'll be interesting to get his thoughts before tomorrow.
180.
Well, that's his second 180 of this game.
81.
And if we're being fair, they're probably the 2 visits that he would cherish in this game so far. Everything else has been a bit sketchy.
It's been quite literally hit or miss for him so far in this match. Shouldn't really stay there. He's found another
140.
treble. Leave himself on 1-2-2.
Well, it's a gamble, but with James on 295, it's a calculated one. If he was sitting on 162 and James was leaving a finish, it would be a mistake. But
43. Max Ricard
based on the
122.
circumstances, it hasn't cost him.
And he's still got that 6 nonetheless from the 122 to put his nose back in front.
65.
Going to come back for 57 to open up a 2-1 lead in this match.
100. Max Ricard 57.
This is for a 14-darter.
47. James Ricard 152.
I'm not even sure he knows what's happening on this stage. He's throwing darts, but he doesn't look comfortable.
96. Max Ricard 10.
And this is a double where you have to be comfortable to hit it.
Game shot on
That
the
was a
third
lot
leg, Max
better.
de Jong.
Great rhythm. 2-1 lead might be a little
Fourth
flattering,
leg, James to throw first. Game on.
but he's found his way to that lead anyway.
180.
That's a magnificent 180, wasn't it?
Wow.
He almost made that third dart disappear.
That was a polo mint, Max, wasn't it?
Coming from a man who has made
140.
final on the Pro Tour. It was back in 2011, and these are the people that he beat. Adam Smith-Neal in the
100.
first game, 6-4. That was in the last 128, when you didn't even need a tour card to play. They used to hold Players' Championships outside of the UK in Germany, the Netherlands, Canada,
100.
the United States, Australia. And if you could afford to go and register beforehand, you could be there. He'd then be Cole
100.
Stompy in the next round, 6-4. He'd take out Simon Whitlock next. Then Steve Brown, who had a really good 2011. Also beat Steve Farmer, who won on the tour that year.
125. James McCall, 121.
Some guy on a microphone right now in the semi-finals. And then he would lose to Colin Osborne in the final.
84.
And that
Max
was
McCall,
Colin Osborne's
136.
last PDC title.
Legend of the sport was the Wizard. Still is now, isn't he? Colin Osborne does a lot on this stage, but what can Max de Jong do here? Another one of them would have given him a dart to double 8 to have opened up a 3-1 lead. So
James
Richardson
McCall,
back
37.
here for 37 to level this game up at 2-2. 5 for double 16 is the MO.
5.
But it doesn't go.
Max
And de Jong is back for the
42.
break, which would put him 3-1 up.
Is he de right or de wrong?
Game shot on the fourth leg.
Very
Max
right.
de
That's a
Jong.
14 darter. And just to emphasise
Fifth
how
leg, Max to
sketchy
third
this
first.
performance has been prior to that, a 14
Game
darter
on.
is an average of 107 in a leg. Collectively, he's only on 81. Very up and down.
85.
And James values that Pro Tour final back in 2011 a lot. He wouldn't make any more finals.
100.
At least not yet. But I can testify. We played the quarterfinals, semi-finals and final on a stage in those Players'
58.
Championships, and some of the early round matches would be on the stage as well. Playing James on the stage in that semi, he played superbly.
100.
It's the first time I ever played him, and I knew he was good. I didn't think he was that good. He gave me a real shellacking, let's put it that way. And I was in terrific form.
140.
I always wanted to win in Germany. That was one of my better opportunities, and to this day, I still wish I'd gone
60.
one further to take on Colin. But fair play to James for making that final.
And that'd be a couple of months before he would pop at the World Championship, where he would beat Raymond van Barneveld famously. The most famous moment
44.
of his career.
It's the most noted for everybody who's watched him.
60.
When he was walking out to Vindaloo as well, that was bouncing. So much so, he was egging the fans on. He would get tired at the end of the walk on. He was huffing and puffing. Had to take a minute just to calm himself down.
Well, luckily for him, he was the first walk-on that night.
134.
A couple of triples there has left de Jong on tops to win this contest. Well, the first few legs was nothing really to write home about, but credit to Max de Jong, who's just found another gear as the finishing line has
119.
approached.
Max McCall, 40.
He's managed to claw this out, and full credit has to go to him for that. But now it's about finishing the job off if he can find double 10. Double
Game shown
10,
with
no
Max.
mistake.
Max de Jong.
And it's a 4-1 victory for Max de Jong against James Richardson. It means for him a first win of the night. For James Richardson, he is 2 defeats from 2 to kick off his evening. Found his best, did the Dutchman, as the finishing line approached. That the tail of the tape from that particular contest. That's game 4, done and dusted. When we return, we're going to see Mervyn King looking to double up here. So the winner of this game between him and Charlie Martin will lead the way at the halfway point of the night. Are you ready to lift that trophy, Darius? Yes. Let's do it then.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Modus Super Series 9 champion is Lucky D, Darius Lewandowski!
Well, what a wonderful night of darts we have seen, and we are ready. Our champion is ready, and it's trophy time. So receive the trophy. £25,000. the new Modus Super Series champion, the Terminator, Marvin Van Velzen. And one more time, the 8th Modus Super Series champion, the Terminator, Marvin Van Velzen. And the new Modus Super Series champion is Andreas Dirty Harrison. And one more time, the 7th Modus Super Series champion. Give it up for Andreas Dirty Harrison.
The moment we've all been waiting for. Would you please show your appreciation for your Series 6 Modus Super Series champion, Scott Taylor?
One more time, your new Modus Super Series champion. He is Chucky. He is Jim McEwen.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Modus Super Series champion, retaining his title, the Luke Littler.
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series. Before the break, Max de Jong got the better of James Richardson by 4 legs to 1. That's game 4 now in the books. Our 5th match of the night sees Mervyn King and Charlie Martin go head-to-head. Max de Jong beating James Richardson 4-1, as I say. The winner of this one between King and Martin will be top of the table at the halfway point of the night. They would have picked up maximum points thus far. 4 to their name. And they'll feel like, whatever happens in the second portion of the evening, it will be job done. For Charlie, he averaged 84.69. Managed to hold his nerve to get through a last leg decider against Scott Baker. Was Mervyn King, well, he did what he needed to do, didn't he, to beat
First leg
James
moving to
Richardson
throw first.
4-2 in his opening match of the
Game
evening.
on.
Nobody's really hit top form as of yet. In fact, the highest average so far this evening is an average underneath the 86 mark. But you get the sense that Mervyn King at some point will hit top level or something close to a top level over a 4-game period.
You make a very valid point because the 2 best averages tonight have been losing averages.
97.
We have not been hitting the heights with the numbers, but there's still plenty of time for things to be found.
60.
Well, Charlie Martin, I'm sure, will cherish this opportunity of playing against the King. I'm sure earlier in his life he was thinking, wouldn't it be great to have a game against Mervyn?
Think about the amount of times that he's probably watched darts on the TV. And how many times he's watched darts on the TV, and that man in your picture there has been throwing darts at the thick end of competitions.
He wouldn't be alone. For decades, people have dreamt of
45.
the possibility of taking on Mervyn. I was the same when I was a kid.
It's been a career that has transfixed generations. His World Championship debut coming all the way back in 1997.
83.
You think about 180 stats, he actually did set a Lakeside record that year as well for over 30 maximums
58.
in the tournament. And back then that was seen as ridiculous. Now it would be seen as normal. Even subpar. That leaves 25. And that
Game
leaves
shown the
nothing,
first
which
leg,
is the name of the
Mervyn
game.
King.
King one up.
Second leg, Charlie to throw
And
first.
you get the sense that
Game on.
of all the players in this group, he's the one most likely that's going to be able to up the levels from what has been quite a cagey, nervy opening to the night.
121.
Speaking of cages, would you like an egg story or a hat story?
Let's go for the hat.
The hat story is as follows.
182.
Well, it was about 12 years ago when Twitter was becoming a lot more popular, when it was called Twitter. And
95.
at our table at the Pro Tour, myself, Mervyn King, Robert Thornton, a few other people, Keegan Brown, James Hubbard.
28.
We used to be visited every morning by Kirk Shepherd. And Mervyn used to say, why does he keep visiting us at the same time every morning, trying to be
134.
pesky? Well, we had an idea, because Kirk would always turn up in a hat, his trusty black French hat. We came up with the plan.
59. Charlie O'Connor.
And I don't advocate this at
151.
home anymore. This was just a joke. We took the hat. Kirk thought he'd lost the hat.
87.
And then the hat had its own Twitter page and went on a world tour for the next year. It was known as Kirk Shepherd's cap. We saw it on the head of many great dart players in the following 12 months.
43.
Until
Charlie O'Connor,
it had a
64.
ceremonial return back to Kirk. It was a one-year running joke that was purely brilliant.
Is this leg going to be purely brilliant? Mervyn King for 15
24.
in the first. Martin is not going to return the favour in leg 2.
$51. Charlie O'Connor, 40.
So Martin looking at double top to level up at 1 apiece. Looking at double 10.
30. Mervyn O'Connor, 140.
So King looking at 140 to get the break and to double up his tally in this match. Not to be on this occasion, and so Martin will return for 5s to level this contest up.
100. Charlie O'Connor, 10.
He's under pressure now.
No score.
He missed
Mervyn
the
O'Connor,
marker, and now
40.
Mervyn has a chance to break. I think Mervyn is quite surprised that he's coming back. He might have been getting ready mentally for the next leg.
Game shown in the
And
second
now
leg.
he can play in the
Mervyn
next
King.
leg with a 2-0 lead.
2 from 2 on the doubles.
Third leg, Mervyn just
Charlie
throw first.
Martin
Game on.
squandering 7 opportunities at the outer ring so far in this contest.
$99.
What do you think Mervyn's legacy is as it stands right now? Because he's adamant that his
100.
career is nowhere near finished at the age of 59. But what's his legacy now?
I think it's his longevity. The fact that he's transfixed generations.
58.
He's seen the peak of Taylor, the peak of Van Gogh, and just tailed off towards this current era. He saw a great era in the BDO. And those couple of World Finals is something that shouldn't be forgotten. The World Masters win is obviously going to be the gleaming highlight of it all. And he won that World Masters at a time where the television coverage may not have been as it should have been, but the quality of the field was perhaps as good as anything out there. Third max of the match there for Merv. I think it's difficult as well when you assess those types of
93.
tournaments because the
Mervyn
landscape's changed so
164.
much to kind of tell you how big a deal they were back then. Because people say, well, Mervyn's never won a major in his career, but
Charlie
that's wrong.
O'Connor,
He may not in the PDC,
128.
but
Absolutely wrong. He is a major champion. Love it. Double 10.
Game
He
shot on the
loves
third leg,
that.
Charlie Martin.
Beautiful shot from Charlie.
Fourth leg, Charlie to throw first.
Well, the king has just seen a
Game
whopper.
on.
12 darter, 1-8, break back, and we return to throw in this
100.
contest.
If you go through Mervin's CV, it's legendary.
98.
He's won in every system he's ever played. To date. Now, he does have challenges in 2025.
125.
He's never won a Challenge Tour event. He obviously hasn't won at the Modus Super Series yet because this is his debut week. But to pretty much continue the trend of his
96.
career, a win here this year and a win on the Challenge Tour, it would just add to his legacy. He's won on the European Tour. He's won a Players' Championship bundle.
100.
He's won a UK Open qualifier. He's won the Dutch Open in 1997. He's won the British Classic 3 times.
83.
And don't get me started on his record for England, which is simply
100.
unreal.
And who's to say the seniors isn't off the radar? Now, we don't know who's qualified or who's going to get invited to the match play or the Masters, but you'd sense that Mervyn King's CV appeal and his recency of drop-off tour would give him a very good chance of getting one of the invited spots
60.
into
Charlie
at
O'Connor,
least one of
76.
those two competitions later on in the year, particularly the Masters, where, as we've mentioned, he is a former champion. Martin having a look at treble 17, double 12 with
36.
2 darts left
Moving
in
the
hand.
car,
King
164.
164, and this really would turn the game on its head as Martin looks to claw a 2-leg deficit back to an equal kilter.
$56.
Well, that is a play that Mervyn
Charlie
didn't used to
O'Connor,
have
40.
in his locker, but he's following what everybody does now on 164, and it makes sense.
Game
That
shot on
makes
the
sense
fourth
as
leg,
well.
Charlie Martin.
Second time that double 10's been punctuated by Mr. Martin.
Fifth leg, Mervyn to throw first. Game on.
Mervyn just having a little bit of a conversation himself. Looks a little bit hot under the collar on the stage, and it is warm up there tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is. He's played in some very warm venues. Circus Tavern, very, very warm.
128.
But that was nothing compared to the 2019 Czech Darts Open in Prague, where Mervyn made the quarterfinals. And he won't mind me telling you this.
40.
It was so hot that by the end of his quarterfinal, which he lost, he needed medical assistance for the rest of the evening because everybody was struggling.
100.
It was that warm. The rigging of the stage was sweating. That's how bad it was. And the only person who
44.
really didn't struggle that weekend, miraculously, was the winner, Jamie Hughes. Nobody felt well after that weekend. It was tough.
Warmest arena you've played in?
That one. Well, the warmest I've ever been in was that
99.
one in Prague. Played? That's easy. January 2009, I played a Dart Players Australia event in Punchbowl, New South
101.
Wales. My dart shirt, which was black and red at the time, actually became part of my skin.
Wish I never asked now.
I won the tournament, but
134.
it's the most uncomfortable I've ever felt.
Well, King Keir's left tops after 12 to re-establish his lead in this match
60.
by 3
Logan
legs to
Carl,
2.
40.
Martin unable to make any kind of inroads in this leg. It's been an off leg. But I suppose if you're going to have one, make sure it's on the
Game shot on the
opponent's
fifth
throw. But the
leg.
problem he's got
Mervyn King.
now is he has to win the remaining 2 legs of this darts match. King 3-2 up, one
Six leg
away
Charlie
from
to
his
throw
second
first.
consecutive victory this evening.
$44. $134.
King now one away is looking to really motor towards the finishing line in this contest.
57.
I've just been looking back at Mervyn King's first ever Players' Championship victory in the PDC. It was in 2008. And it was in Glasgow
99.
in the old format. You know how they changed the World Masters in the PDC this year back to set format, best of 3 legs per set? Well, that's how they used to define Players' Championships.
140.
It was best of 3 legs per set, best of 5 sets. I didn't realise this until now, but in his first game, which was in the last 64, he beat Pat O'Reilly of Australia 3 sets
25.
to 2. That would be the closest game he'd have for the rest of the event. He'd beat Andy Smith 3 sets to 0. He'd then beat Phil Taylor 3 sets to 1.
43.
And in his final 3 games, against Kevin McDine, Mick McGowan and Mark Dudbridge, he wouldn't lose a set to win his first PDC Players' Championship title.
96.
Now, bearing in mind, Mick McGowan and Mark Dudbridge were 2 of the best players in the world at the time. That is a ridiculous achievement.
89.
And he could be,
Biblical
just like Steve West
147.
this afternoon, the person who sets the pace at the halfway point.
So 147 to get the job done. Mervyn King isn't going to finish things off here. So Martin here looking at 120. He's already had it once in this match. Is he going to find it again? He's going to have to find it again. Because King's on double 4 to win it if he doesn't.
If he hits it, we're on really alert again. It is match point.
Look at 8.
It's the point of the match where you just want to get it done.
No
Game show
dramas,
match,
no
Mervyn
mistakes, and Mervyn King is 2 from 2 this evening. He's got the better of Charlie Martin by 4 legs to 2 in our 5th match of the evening session. Decent performance that for Mervyn, the best performance we've seen all night, average in excess of 92 and 4 out of 4 importantly on the doubles as well. He's beaten Charlie Martin by 4 legs to 2 to move top of the group. Coming up after the break, Scott Baker takes on James Richardson. It's game 6 of the evening session.
$54. Charlie McGuire, 164. $44. $32. Charlie required 120.
Well, 120. He's got a fair, at least 2 handfuls at this. Just needs to stay
60.
there. That's a good shot. Halves his score. Leaves himself on a 2-darter.
$26. Charlie
Time on his
required
side
60.
to become back-to-back singles champion.
$40.
Definitely a couple of nerves in those last 2 darts. But he'll be coming back.
The moment he's been in before this situation. Standing at the back of the stage,
Charlie
approaching the
required
hockey with a
20.
chance to win the title.
He did this to win the first title, if you remember.
11.
I think he's gone.
Georgia
I think he's gone to
180.
bust it, maybe. The first title he won, he wanted 20. He went 6-7-7 to win it. He had a chance to replicate it again.
Yeah, I get the feeling that was for a bust. And
39.
on that situation there, George Scaife wasn't even
9.
able to take it out going to the 18s on that switch.
Yeah, I think he just panicked a bit, but he's done well to get that big one.
Sometimes can be the hardest part.
Georgia requires
This is it.
79.
It's got to be 19s. got to be 19s for this shot. Big 20 and a double. He's got the first one. He's going to get a match dart here.
$59. Charlie,
Threw the entire
require
body into that
8.
one. Just didn't want to let go of the dart.
No score.
He's given George a chance.
Georgia require 20.
I think George has been quite good on double 10 today.
So many opportunities for Charlie Murphy.
Go
Couldn't get the job
it.
done.
Got in the match! And the Red Dragon
George
Modus
Skate.
Super Series Influencers Champion, George Skate!
And those 3 words are, you are mine.
What a finish! What a man!
Oh my word!
It's wonderful.
Oh, that's a Hail Mary and a half!
Game Jong the second man.
It looks good, and most importantly, it looks quick as well, doesn't it, next week here at the Super Series? Just have a look at that Group A. David Davis, Andy Davidson, Tom Sykes, Jimmy Van Schie have all won weeks here in the last 12 months, but only one of them is going to get the opportunity to do that. That's without including Simon Whitlock in Group B, who's going to get his first win on this stage. Thomas Banks, of course, famously won a week here in 2024 as well. I think it's going to be a little bit tasty. Carl Wilkinson, a player to look out for as well. He had a very good Lakeside back in December. 9:30 a.m. Monday morning, we're going to get underway with Week 10 of Series 10 here at the Modus Super Series. Before the break, we reached the midway point of the night session, and it was Mervyn King who got the better of Charlie Martin by 4 legs to 2. He's top of the table, the only player to have kept up a record of maximum points so far tonight. Baker, De Jong and Martin all with 1 win apiece, whilst that man at the back of the stage there, James Richardson, is the only player not to get a chalk on the board thus far. Defeats 4-2 to Mervyn King and 4-1 to Max De Jong is the reason why he has plummeted to the very bottom of this Group B mix. It's going to be Baker to get us underway in our 6th match of the night. We've reached the halfway house.
100.
And for Baker, if he can get to 4 points, he'll feel like it's job done for the night.
60.
Most golf courses have a halfway house just to recharge for the next 9
92.
holes. If this is the halfway house of darts, what would you be having?
Nice sit down.
96.
I didn't realise you were sitting on the floor.
But there has been times where we've been known to stand
44.
up during some of these games.
Yeah, we do a bit of a Tony Romo and Jim Nance standing up while commentating. Nothing wrong with that. Getting a little bit of mobility work in.
85.
Trust me, when you work in my industry elsewhere, when you're on some rickety-rockety gantries, you've got no other choice but to stand up on a bit of scaffolding that you just hope doesn't give way.
46.
I know you'll probably never play golf at Royal Lytham St Anne's, but if you ever do, the halfway house does the most amazing sausage rolls.
180.
I know a place not too far from the venue that does a good sausage roll as well.
41. Ginger car 80.
There's no competition, trust me.
I know, Chef Greg is great. 77 left, and plenty of time here for Richardson to get the break in the opening leg of this encounter.
There's only one chef in this game, and that's James. He can do anything with a slow cooker. He could probably do an omelette in a slow cooker.
He's been very considerate to his house guests this week at the Airbnb that some of the players are sharing. And he decided not to put the slow cooker on because he doesn't want to stink the gaff out.
Getting shown the
Oh,
first
that looks
leg,
good.
James Richardson.
And if it was to be cooked, I'm sure it would smell good as well.
Second leg, James.
James made a
game on.
habit of when this tournament was in Southampton back in the days where you had to stay in a socially distanced room and you weren't able to do much. He brought his slow cooker with him and he was prepping food in the room, and that by and large resulted in a vindaloo. Mind you, I don't think I'd want to be the person in the room either side.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in that room.
100.
Well, something actually has happened this week, which we have to reference. Very
55.
sad news of the passing of Alicia Evans, the sister of Ricky. She was laid to rest yesterday.
140.
And tonight, James is honouring Alicia with a wristband with her name on it, on his left wrist.
60. James Car 121.
She passed way too young, and the Evans family, I know, are having a very tough time of it.
96.
But the Richardson family are very close to the Evans family. The Northamptonshire Darts family all came together yesterday.
100. Thank you. James Car 25.
Very sad times, and everybody at the Modus Super Series sends our best to the Evans.
Game shot on the second leg, James Richardson.
Those thoughts are echoed here as James Richardson pins
leg
the
stops
double
us
eight
through
for
first.
14
Game on.
darter. That puts him 2-0 in front.
Now, what has he just put in his hands?
100.
Is it the famous chalk from his old holiday? If that's
58.
the same bit of chalk, seriously. He does like a bit of chalk on his hands when he throws.
30.
It's not too much. He's not. There it is. There you see. Beautiful gesture.
58.
And if there's anybody in World Darts who is happy to give his time for other people and for other causes, it is
81.
James Richardson. Darts for Heroes, an incredible venture.
140.
He's starting to zip around this stage, Henry. That's a bad sign for Scott Baker.
Well, Scott is having his worst game of the
100.
night at a time where James Richardson's having his best game of the night. Richardson averaging in excess of 94, and he's just found that hot skip and jump, as you mentioned,
60.
that when he's playing at his best, he finds. He really does traverse up and down the oche. He's like a Duracell bunny with the amount of energy that he has when he really gets
60.
going.
He wants to get past that, but it's not easy.
65.
Sensible.
Scott the car 130.
Now he doesn't need the bull. Scott does.
105.
He went
James
straight
Car
for it.
120.
The only reason James would need the bull is if he'd left 100 with 2 and a blocked 60. But he doesn't need the bull, he needs tops.
And
James on
gets
the third
tops.
leg,
That
James
looked
Richardson.
good, and it is good. Richardson free up. He's got the double break, and he's got Scott Baker
Fourth leg, James to throw
exactly
first.
where he
Game on.
wants him.
He's got Scott Baker thinking that someone's nicked his Vespa.
100.
Well, James Richardson's not won a game all
100.
night, but if he wins this one, this group gets incredibly tight because you'll have King at the top of 4 points, and he plays an X against Max de Jong, so he can move 4 clear with
100.
everybody else landlocked on 2 going into game 8 of the session.
The thing is, as
41.
neutrals here, we want it to be really tight. I want to see everybody on 4 points overnight. That would make for great viewing. Come tomorrow night.
134.
We've still never had that infamous scenario where everybody finishes the group on 8 points. We've had a couple of brushes with it in the past, but it's never
121. James
actually come to
167.
fruition. Is this result going to come to fruition? Richardson unable to get the 167 to wrap up a 4-0 victory, but what he is
131.
going to do is leave himself on a double after just 12 darts.
Well, people are starting to kick in now. We've just had the best performance of the night from
60.
King.
James Car 36.
This is actually better from Richardson.
What a performance. It's rounded off with a 13 darter. And it's an average for James Richardson, just underneath the 97 mark. It's his first win of the night, and there's that touching tribute to the Evans family. We're all thinking of you, and we all send our love and our condolences to you as well. But for James Richardson, it's a first win of the night. He tells Paul Hinks about his touching tribute, and it's an incredible tribute from an incredible man. That's the tail of the tape. Richardson of an average just under 97, 4 out of 6 when it came to the double at the 120, put him 3-0 to the good. Next up, it is Max de Jong up against Mervyn King. King can move on to 6 points in the group. Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where 6 games have come and gone in this Group B. Let's have a first look at the table going into Game 7 of the night. Mervyn King with 2 wins to 2, looking to make it 6 points, whilst everybody else, apart from the King, finds themselves on 2, finds themselves with 1 win so far tonight, including Max de Jong. In fact, this is a meeting between the top 2 in the league table. And who would have thought that when Max de Jong was beaten so comprehensively 4-1 by Scott Baker in the opening match of the night. But it's King and de Jong, game number 7 of the evening, and for Mervyn, it's a chance to really extend his authority, extend his lead at the top of the group. It'd be 4 points if he can win this particular match, and you'd get the sense that he is already beginning to run away with things if he can do that.
First leg, Max to throw first. Game on.
The question is if, because when Mervyn was having his perfect day on Monday, obviously he beat everybody he played, but since then he has suffered defeat to Max de Jong twice.
140.
So he would like to settle the score tonight ahead of their game on Friday night, which could be the separator.
45.
But based on their league position at the minute, they're looking good, the both of them, to maybe both make the top 3 of this group. Now, has somebody switched Max de Jong on all of a sudden? Because towards the end of his game with James Richardson, he was playing properly. He didn't play well against Scott Baker at all.
59.
He didn't play well at the start against James. Something has clicked, and Max is back.
Can the real Max de Jong please stand
65.
up? And it looks like he really is standing up as Mervyn King just walks and treads along this first leg. De Jong looking to sprint towards it, leaving 116 after
Max
just
Ricard,
9 darts to
116.
take out the opening leg of this match.
$56.
Yeah, no such joy, but when you've got a lead of nearly half a leg, that'll do.
It'll do nicely indeed.
140.
40 leads King on 165, and so
60.
Max has got even more time on his side.
$40.
Through that window with authority, but he knows he didn't need to hit that with King on a bogey number.
The problem is, when he
97.
returns, there's going to be considerable
Max Ricard,
pressure.
20.
King leaving himself on 68 should get at least something if this double 10 doesn't go. But de Jong takes it.
Game
How many
on the
times do you
first
see
leg,
that?
Max de Jong.
When a player has so much time and comfort, they almost
Second
take
leg
their
moving to
time,
third
and as soon
first,
as the pressure's
game on.
applied, they pin it straight away in that visit. De Jong 1 up.
You do need that little bit of urgency sometimes.
60.
You think there's more pressure when you need to hit it, but you tend to have more focus when you need to hit it. It's just the way the humans work. Look at me saying humans when
85.
it's like the third person. We are all humans, of course. Unless there's a bunch of cats watching.
Hi, cats.
28.
And Mervyn has had a few animals in his life. He's got his beautiful dogs. He's not quite Simon Whitlock, who's going to be back next week, by the way. Simon's had his own zoo at home. Snake, guinea pigs, chickens, and
57.
a dog, and a cat called Northy.
I think I've got a rough idea why that cat might be called Northy.
Yeah, it's a ginger cat.
85.
Must be a fairly chatty cat.
Mustn't stop meowing.
It was really interesting the first
100.
time I ever saw
Max Ricard,
Mervyn meeting Richard North.
151.
He couldn't quite believe how much Richard talked.
Isn't that everybody when they meet Richard North?
It was just funny. Richard North turned up on the
46.
Pro Tour, and he inherited the title as the chattiest dart player from Alex Roy.
I'll never forget a time where you did an interview with Mr. North, and all you had to do was ask one question. Hi,
121.
Richard, how
Max
are you?
Ricard,
Yeah, that was it.
105.
de Jong here looking at 105 to get the break and to double his lead to 2-0. Mervyn King has one of them inquisitive looks on his face.
He's starting to look a little bit uncomfortable in the heat. Now that makes Max feel a little bit uncomfortable as well.
89.
Interesting
Moving
thought
the car
there.
135.
He decided not to leave the primary double, even though he had the option. Now, what's Mervyn done there?
81. Max your car 16.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Getting shot in the second leg.
Well,
Max de
Mervyn
Jong.
King's mind may have gone a blank for a second, but De Jong
Third
gets
leg
the
Max
break
to
and
through
opens
first.
up a 2-leg lead. And if he can win this game, the Dutchman, then we really are in a position where everything is open for interpretation. De Jong would be on 4, King would be on 4. And then we look at the next match in the programme, which is Richardson and Martin, and the winner of that game would be guaranteed on 4. And guess what? It would open up that possibility of everybody
93.
being on 4 points come the end of play, because if Baker then beat King in Game 9, and then Martin was to beat De Jong in Game 10 after Richardson winning Game 8, everybody would be level going in today too.
60.
There's a long way to go yet.
Going to be a lot of darts thrown in anger between now and that particular point.
$95.
I hasten to say that when you've got 135, you are, and I hate to be simplistic about this,
60.
but when your opponent's on something a lot smaller, you really do need to go bullseye on that shot. There isn't really another part of the board that makes sense. Now, if he'd hit
140.
treble 20, treble 17, and double 12, I would have seen complete genius this evening. But in order to get the best opportunity, you've really got to be using the bullseye on that shot. Or am I missing
39.
something? But as it stands right now, Mervyn is really struggling to find his mark in this contest.
95.
And credit to Maxi. I mean, he's averaging in excess of 95. This has been a really good performance from him. And he's picking up the pieces from the scraps where Mervyn King is unable to find anything
58.
as the sweat
Max your
continues to
car
drip.
78.
And he may find himself an even hotter bother here if De Jong can find the 78. 20 for tops and plenty of time. Plenty of time on his side.
58.
And he's going to need it.
$46.
There really is a gulf
Max your car
between
20.
these two performances. One of them is very admirable. One of them is a little bit mystifying. Last time he hit double 10, he had a nice marker like that.
Decision to make here because King's all the way on 238 and he's going to decide
No
to
score.
bust the score in the end. But that was dangerous going for the bullseye to do that.
That was not a good play. And I've questioned a couple of Max's tactics this week. But that could have been a situation where he hits a small
44.
3
Max
and
your
leaves
car
himself
20.
on a silly little number. It has
Each on the
worked
third
out.
leg, Max de Jong.
But that could have been so tricky.
Fourth leg moving to throw first. Game on.
Penny for the thoughts.
There was a lot to ponder there, wasn't there, for Mervyn King? But for Max de Jong, nothing really to worry about. 3-0 to the good. And I think he knows that if he just carries on doing what he's doing, his opponent isn't firing in much up
140.
until this particular point.
He hits a 60 and he gives us the most wonderful wow. He is just the gift that keeps on giving.
100.
He is known as a bit of a gift machine. Maybe the best one he's ever done was when he lost the 2020 Players Final at Coventry. Michael's celebrating right in front of the camera and Mervyn's in the background looking as if to say, "What are you doing?"
60.
I remember watching that game from backstage. I was with new World Youth Champion Bradley Brooks at the time, and we were just in hysterics watching it. We thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, that was the COVID year, wasn't it? So there was
25.
nobody in the auditorium for that. And of course, A couple of months later, make it through to the final of the Masters. Also to Johnny
93.
Clayton. And that could have been a moment which really ignited the career again, because it was built at the time as a playoff for the final Premier League spot. And if Mervyn was to win that game and then get himself back into the Premier League, who knows what would have happened from that point henceforth.
Yeah, fair point.
177.
There are lots of sliding doors moments in darts.
100.
You could say, what if Mervyn had won both of the finals in Players' Championships? Against myself and against Michael, he could be a 2-time Players' Champion. He could be a 2-time World Champion.
Mervyn O'Carr, 108.
He could be a World Master and a PDC World Master.
Could find himself back in the match. If he can fire in the double 18 for the
90.
Shanghai, not to be.
Max O'Carr, 160.
Now, if he finds the first treble here, you'd half fancy Max de Jong for this. Because he's been able to, by and large, follow the first dart quite well this week.
61. Mervyn O'Carr, 18.
That hasn't worked out at all. That
Inch
has.
on the fourth leg,
That's a
Mervyn
lovely
King.
deflection to keep himself in this one.
Fifth leg, Max to throw first. Game on.
What's your favourite version of Merv? Now, we're talking in sections in his 30-year career. Are we talking 95 to 2005, 2005 to 2015, or 2015 to now? Which decade is the best?
I think we're looking at, well, in terms of what he won, it's going to be that period before 05. But for me, in terms of age, it'd have to be watching him probably between 2012 and 2015, where he was still very much at the elite of the game. Maybe the Premier League invites weren't quite forthcoming as they once were, but he was still always at the thick end of things.
He was in the Premier League.
45.
And he is someone who's beaten Phil Taylor at the playoffs. People tend to forget that. He lost in the final to James Wade. But he took out a famous
41.
115 checkout to beat Phil Taylor. 25, 54, double 18. At the time, Taylor was seen as bulletproof. And King showed that he wasn't.
96.
They would consequently... In fact, if I do remember rightly, earlier that season...
81.
They had a bit of an interesting altercation where Mervyn was accused of throwing a dart over Phil's back at Newcastle. And
57.
tonight was the Newcastle Premier League, funnily enough.
$81.
Now, you may remember they met the year after in the playoffs at the Wembley Arena. Now, what was significant about that game? It may not have been what happened on the hockey that was the talking
That was
point.
the Power Cup week, wasn't it?
And that was when Stephen Fry was commentating with Sid Waddell and Rod Harrington. That match.
96.
It was like
Max
a pig in
O'Carr,
Chardonnay.
67.
Well, that was the year where Phil got the 2-9 darters, wasn't it? That power cut was actually a good thing. This could be a good thing for Max.
51.
A couple of match darts have come and gone, and King's got a route potentially back into this contest. It will be a break as well, so he would then be throwing for that last leg decider. But if he's going to do so, he's going to have to find the ball and is
41.
unable to locate. And so De Jong,
Max O'Carr, 16.
his levels just dropped off a little bit after what was a really promising start, but he has been the better player from the first start pretty much until the last, and he could put a rubber stamp on it here. One left. Can he find it in off?
No
oh,
score.
he's done everything
Mervyn
but.
O'Carr, 33.
How was that landed like that?
Well, Mervyn King was wiping his towel, but you know he's never going to throw it in. And he's looking at double 16 to extend the game.
Game shot
Finds
on
it
the
first
fifth leg,
dart.
Mervyn King.
You can't mismatch darts like that against King.
Six-leg Mervyn
As
to throw
uncomfortable as he does look on the hockey tonight, he will keep fighting. I was at that Premier League in 2009 at Newcastle. And at the end of that Taylor-King game,
45.
things did get ugly backstage. If Mervyn ever writes a book, I'm not going to give it away because I don't think that's fair. I think it's something that Mervyn should talk about. But yeah, it's fair to say that Phil and Mervyn
100.
didn't speak for a few weeks.
Yeah, some of the tall tomfoolery, shall we say. In fact,
100.
that night there was a third place playoff back in the days when they were a thing. Mervyn actually went on to win that 8-7 against Simon Whitlock.
I was never really a fan of the third place playoffs. And
134.
neither was Raymond van Barneveld at the World Championship when he took on Mark Webster.
Basically, it's two semi-final losers who basically are playing off to see
96.
who's less of a loser.
That's why they didn't do it much after that, because not many people liked it.
Pointless.
But you've got to do these things to figure out if they are worthy of a future.
31.
I mean, we once upon a time had a four-place playoff, but that was because back in them days it was 3 spots per week to champions, so there was actually something riding on it.
Exactly.
121.
We used to get to the semi-finals, and if you lost your semi-final, you'd have to stick around and play that third place playoff, because otherwise you wouldn't be going to the Champions Week.
100. Mervyn Car 139.
Let's not forget that Max has had 5 match starts. If he wants another one
91.
before
Max
Mervyn's
Car
on 48,
136.
he's going to have to get 2 treble 20s here.
She's not going to get, and suddenly this game is slipping and sliding
46.
away from Max
Mervyn
de
Car
Jong.
48.
He looks so comfortable, but we could be going to a last leg if King can find this 48. 16 leaves the double.
Game
The
shown the
double is
6-5
found,
Mervyn
and this
King.
game has been turned on its head. De Jong looked good, didn't he, when he was 3-1
Some of
up?
the final leg
But
Max to
King
throw
has
first.
persevered. He's
Game on.
found a way after De Jong missed all them match starts. And we head to a last leg decider. But Max does have the insurance policy of the darts.
He also has the knowledge that he's beaten Mervyn King 4-3 the last 2 days.
140.
So when it goes to leg 7 in this fixture, Max knows how to get the job done, and he's done it with and without the throw.
180.
If Mervyn gets out of this game with a win, he's been digging so deep over the 7 legs that he will deserve a
60.
game off before he plays Scott Baker. He's putting everything into this.
45.
A little bit of body and a bit of shoulder into the throw now as well, showing that maybe there's a little tiredness in the arm. And let's not forget, he is 59 years of age. And he's playing his 4th consecutive day. And like most players of his
60.
grandeur, like Steve Beaton, like Simon Whitlock, like some others, he's playing more without a tour card than he was with one.
Well, it's something that he's spoken about in interviews this
57.
week. As he said, his career, he feels like there's still another chapter to write, and he feels as if that he's still one of the best 128 on tour, and his goal is to get that card back. But maybe hindsight will
96.
tell him that maybe this is a challenge which was worthwhile once this year is over. That there'll be things that he learns and he takes from just doing something a little bit different for the odd year. I know different stages of their career, but look what it did to Connor Scott.
99. Max Car 145.
Now, this game is not the final of the World Grand Prix in 2012. Mervyn would not like to relive that again.
35.
But a
Mervyn
145 from
Car
Van Gerwen to take the
120.
title is not going to happen from another Dutchman. It could be a 120 to steal this victory from 3-0 down.
56.
He's now in the lap of the
Max
gods.
Car 110.
Jong looked so good for so long, but he's missed opportunities to win this match. Is he going to finally get it done? Decided to persevere there with Dart 2.
58.
Interesting play.
Mervyn Car 64.
And so Mervyn King, who could complete the ultimate comeback here, is looking at 64 points to seal it.
Deadeye. 4s.
60.
And it
Max
may
Car
just
52.
slip away. 7 match darts. Accumulatively for both players. 5 for De Jong. 2 for King.
There might have been a point where Max de Jong thought he wasn't getting this opportunity. He's as befuddled as the rest of us. And he looks a little bit confused as to where to go.
Yeah, he doesn't know whether he wants 16s or tops. He's got to make his mind up. He's decided on neither.
Big brave call, going for double 18 to win it. He's got a beautiful guide there. But he
34.
cannot find the conversion, can't find the hit off. And so King will come back for more match darts. He's already had a couple to win it. And
Game
clinch
on the
it he
match,
will
very
on
good.
double 2 to complete a 4-3 victory against Max de Jong. And Mervyn King is 3 wins from 3 in this Group B. And is now just 1 game away from completing the card later on against Scott Baker. Well, it wasn't a classic, was it? But Mervyn King from 3 behind has sealed a 4-3 win against Max de Jong. Coming up after the break, game 8 of the evening sees James Richardson take on Charlie Martin live here on Pluto TV. Are you ready to lift that trophy, Darius?
Yes.
Let's do it then.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Modus Super Series 9 champion is Lucky D, Darius Labanowski!
Well, what a wonderful night of darts we have seen, and we are ready. Our champion is ready, and it's trophy time. So receive the trophy. £25,000. The new Modus Super Series champion, the Terminator, Marvin Van Velzen. And one more time, the 8th Modus Super Series champion, the Terminator, Marvin Van Velzen. And the new Modus Super Series champion is Andreas Dirty Harrison. And one more time, the 7th Modus Super Series champion. Give it up for Andreas Dirty Harrison.
The moment we've all been waiting for. Would you please show your appreciation for your Series 6 Modus Super Series champion, Scott Taylor?
One more time, your new Modus Super Series champion. He is Chucky. He is Jim McEwen.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Modus Super Series champion
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where before the break, Mervyn King got the better of Max de Jong by 4 legs of 3. That means it's 6 points from 6 for Mervyn, coming back from 3-0 behind as well to win that particular contest. So pretty much job done for him. He's got one more game to go before his night comes to a close. As for James Richardson and Charlie Martin, this is game 8. James Richardson brings his campaign to a close. Charlie Martin's only halfway through his night. 1 win from his 2. James Richardson got his first win last time out, and it was the best performance of the night so far as well. Average just under 97 and a 4-0 success against Scott Baker. And James is so adept, isn't he, to this format, to this time of night. He's played a lot of Group Bs, whether it be in this building or in the previous building in Southampton. He knows how to play way beyond the midnight hour.
121.
If you're going to be good in Group B, you've got to do it past midnight.
68.
Most of the time. Because let's say you have the schedule where you finish in game number 8 like this, like James is about to do. This is his first game after midnight.
45.
So if you play your first 3 before midnight, there you go. You might be able to play like a Mogwai. Don't get fed before midnight.
100.
But if you want to be ruthless, you're going to have to do it until about 1:30 in the morning.
100.
And that is a bit of a skill. So is this leg.
Getting shot on the first leg, Charlie Martin.
Well, the only word in the English language to describe that leg is wallop.
Second leg, Charlie to throw first.
Well, he didn't mess about there. 11 data, ton checkout, taken in 2 and taken in the space of a minute flat, or just over that.
180.
Hang on a minute. What's this guy been having at midnight? Charlie Martin's turned up and all of a sudden he's hitting everything.
121.
Well, we know he's got these spells because we've seen it from him, particularly in the ADC Tour events. Remember that game against Bradley Brooks where he was 3-1 down and he put in a burst, didn't he? What was it, 13-11 to get the better of him?
180.
Somebody get Paul Hinks a lozenge. I think he's going to need it after this game's finished.
140.
For heaven's sake, this game is mental.
Put it this way. He hit a 140 and his average went down.
This could
140.
be 211 daughters. Tops. That'll do.
Shot on the second leg.
That'll do very nicely. James Richardson has not played badly.
Merciless, ridiculous from Charlie Martin.
140.
Just do that again over the next 2 legs if you dare.
Well, if he does it over the next couple of legs, we've got an all-time record average here.
48.
And I'm glad we got rid of the averages there and then, because that took a whole measly 9 points off it.
He was in another Charlie's territory
83.
there. Charlie Manby.
What a talent he looks, by the way.
Yeah, I'm very impressed by him.
140.
We have not seen the last of that young man.
The problem is, there's so many now. There's such, well, I say the problem is, but there's such an assembly line of talent. And I'll tell you what, the next Gen Week, the Young Guns Week's going to take some picking. And Charlie Martin's going to take some undoing here. Still averaging just under 125. James Richardson is averaging 98 and is being made to look poor.
Well, the only way that he maintains something like that is if he takes 1-3-3 and tops.
93.
Still really good.
128.
This is not about averages right now. This is about a performance that James just can't live with.
52. Charlie McCart, 80.
This might just be the kind of stuff that Charlie is capable of. He's showing the world what he can do.
60. James Ricard,
Well,
76.
James Richardson here has deserved an opportunity. Let's get that right the way he's been playing. And he's going to get one here at double top. And
Game
to
on the
his
third
credit,
leg,
he's
James
taken
Richardson.
it. He's been completely bamboozled in the first few legs. But when he
Fourth
gets
leg,
one
Charlie,
chance,
the
he's
third
taken
first.
it.
Game on.
And he keeps himself in the contest. And look, averages are great. But James Richardson knows that the only metric that matters is getting to 4 before the other guy does.
96. One of them, 40.
Lots of 2 treble visits in this game. There have been 6 in 3 and a bit legs.
And can we be perfectly honest? Nobody tonight
125.
has shown any kind of form that this was possible.
That's fair. By the way, on top of those 6 2 treble visits, we've had
57.
3 180s. Best scoring game by some distance.
One of them, 40.
He's dialed in. Absolutely dialed in is Charlie Martin. He's in full flow, full rhythm. He's in one of those patches which, as a player, you can only dream of.
45. Charlie Ricard, 140.
Elite players can do this, but very rarely do they do it when there's a camera pointing at them.
120.
But he'll take it. Needs himself double 10 after just a dozen darts. Still averaging here, by the way. We're going towards the end of the fourth leg.
95. Charlie Ricard,
117.84. We're still potentially looking at record average territory, but it relies on a hit usually with first or second dart. But this has been a problem. For as good as the scoring's been,
No
the finishing's been suspect.
James Ricard,
Only 2 from 8.
164.
He's got a chance to put double 10 right now.
64. Charlie Ricard, 20.
Not everybody likes double 10. He likes it
Game
now.
on the fourth leg, Charlie Martin.
Took him a while to get over the line.
Fifth leg, James to third first.
It's
Game
still
on.
exceptional. It's one of those what-if moments, though. If he'd hit double 10 first time both
60.
times, this would have been an out-of-sight performance.
28.
He's from Hersham, which isn't too far from here, is it?
About an hour 45, maybe a couple of hours up the road.
One of them, 40.
Well, let's have a look then at the
43.
scoring power pack. And have a look at that. The sheer amount of big score that's gone in this contest, particularly from Charlie. The amount of one treble
121.
turns he's had. There's not been many visits where he's gone trebleless, but unfortunately for him, they've pretty much all come in this leg. And
97.
there's still look, for as well as Charlie Martin's played, there is still a competitive game of darts on the offing here because Richardson's going to get 6 on 180 to bring it back to
60.
3-2. And credit to him, despite how well his opponent's playing, he's going to force him to serve it out, it looks.
41.
Just
James
stick
Ricard,
around.
120.
We've just seen in our previous game. There's no such thing as a guarantee. Isn't that right, James?
Game shown the fifth
That's
leg,
right, James.
Richardson.
That's the second time he's taken
Six
that
leg
finish
Charlie
out
to third
tonight.
first.
And he's
Game on.
back to 3-2. 2 from 2 on his doubles. He's been outplayed. He's had to take the scraps he's been fed.
Can I get something off my chest?
49.
You've just seen James Richardson rub some chalk on his hand.
One under the leg.
It worked pretty well. Now, a couple of years ago, the PDC was starting to talk about a rule
93.
in regards to points. And it was in relation to the destruction of certain segments of the dartboard. They were trying to protect the integrity of the playing surface because of overly aggressive points.
46.
It was made, not as a rule, but discretionary to the tournament director of said tournament.
165.
How good is this leg? This guy's just never down and out. I'll get back to that point in a second because the 10
59,
darters
David Carr,
incoming.
16.
And for all the brilliance of Charlie Martin, this could be the best leg of the match. Double 4.
Game
And
show
actually,
on the
James
sixth leg,
Richardson's got the
James
higher average
Richardson.
now. By about 4 points. It's an 11 darter. We go all the way.
Seventh and final leg, James to throw first.
Well, this is like a
Game
game
on.
with 3 halves. But yes, aggressive points have been regulated somewhat.
43.
But if the argument of keeping the integrity of the playing surface is coming up again, you've got to talk about things that are
59.
on the board otherwise, like resins or chalk. However,
140.
I don't have a problem with people putting chalk on their hand. I do have an issue with people putting chalk on their darts because it
81.
can then spit on the board and cause a problem for your opponent. Coming from someone who doesn't like chalk, that's my personal opinion,
83.
but it's the same argument. I know that Johnny Haynes has chalk on his darts, and there are others.
140.
But I just have a feeling that argument's going to come up again in the future.
Well, Charlie Martin must be thinking, how has this game slipped? Because he was
85.
averaging in the
James Carr,
100 teens
95.
after 3 legs, and Richardson's now on the cusp of turning this game on its head. And he's going to get a match start at double 8. And
Game
what
show
a
match,
comeback
James
that
Richardson.
is for James Richardson. What a flurry that was towards the finishing line. Another touching tribute to the Evans family. But for Charlie Martin, the first 3 legs were as good as he's ever played here. But he couldn't sustain the course. Richardson wins 4-3. And by the way, that was 7 legs played in about 11 minutes. That was how quick fire that one was. And have a look at them numbers. That really was more like it. 2 more games to go. King and Baker is coming up next.
$54. Charlie McGuire, 164. $44. $32. Charlie required 120.
Well, 120. He's got a fair, at least 2 handfuls at this. Just needs to stay
60.
there. That's a good shot. Halves his score. Leaves himself on a 2 darter.
$26. Charlie
Time on his
required
side
60.
to become back-to-back singles champion.
$40.
Definitely a couple of nerves in those last 2 darts. But he'll be coming back.
The moment he's been in before this situation. Standing at the back of the
81.
stage,
Charlie
approaching the
required
Oki with a
20.
chance to win the title.
He did this to win the first title, if you remember.
11.
I think he's gone.
Georgia
I think
required
he's gone to
118.
bust it, maybe. The first title he won, he wanted 20. He went 6-7-7 to win it. He had a chance to replicate it again.
Yeah, I get the feeling that was for a bust. And
39.
on that situation there, George
required
Scaife wasn't even
9.
able to take it out going to the 18s on that switch.
Yeah, I think he just panicked a bit, but he's done well to get that big one.
Sometimes can be the hardest part.
Georgia requires
This is it.
79.
It's got to be 19s. It's got to be 19s for this shot. Big 20 and a double. He's got the first one. He's going to get a match dart here.
$59. Charlie
Threw the entire
required
body into that
8.
one. Just didn't want to let go of the dart.
no score.
He's given George a chance.
George require 20.
I think George has been quite good on double 10 today.
So many opportunities for Charlie Murphy. Couldn't get the job done.
The match! And the Red Dragon
George
Modus
Skate.
Super Series Influencers Champion, George Skate!
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series. And before the break, we saw the game of the night as James Richardson got the better of Charlie Martin 4-3. After 3 legs, Charlie Martin was averaging the best part of 130. But it was Richardson that go on to claim the points, coming back from behind to win 4-3. Martin spurning a 3-1 advantage in that match. Richardson with his second 120 out, short in as many games. And his doubling, by the way, as well, has been, in the last couple of games, something to marvel. 4 from 6 and 4 from 5. In his last 2 games. Now to our penultimate game. 2 games from home, and we're going to see Mervyn King and Scott Baker go head-to-head. Mervyn can once again complete the card in a first day of a group if he can win this one. He went 5 from 5.
First leg, Mervyn to
first day of Group A on Monday, and he could go 4 from 4 in Group B if he can get the better of Scott Baker in this particular match.
These guys have met before
122
on the PDC Pro Tour, and they've met on the Challenge Tour this year. So a degree of familiarity about it.
140.
Scott's got a lot more Super Series experience, but then Mervyn's got a lot more experience in total.
So it's one of them what gives scenarios. And for Mervyn, he's been playing the better. I mean, he ran out a little bit of steam and was lucky to get over the line against Max de Jong, but overall has been playing to a slightly better level than Scott Baker this evening, for whom, yes, he's picked up a couple of points in his first game, but he'd be the first to admit he's never really got going at any point.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
96.
Now, curiously, one of their meetings was at a Players' Championship on the 22nd of September 2019. Mervyn won that game 6 legs to 4 in the last 64 in Barnsley.
43.
He won with 105.2 average. Scott lost with 102.3. There is an even bigger degree of familiarity about that game.
93.
Because after Mervyn went to the next round, he then lost to Steve West, who's also here this week.
55.
In the last 16, James Richardson would lose to Gary Anderson. There's something going on with people in 2019 here this week.
34.
It was around about that time that Mervyn was starting to get his form back.
68. Mervyn 16.
And after that comeback against Max de Jong, he may be feeling very chipper indeed for a possible second perfect campaign in a daily sense here in week number 9.
Well, he's had the best part of a quarter of an hour to prepare for this. And I can imagine the preparation has been just get out of there, get underneath an air conditioning unit, and just cool off and go again. Because he's going to be max sharp.
46.
I think it's just been regulating all the other controllables ahead of this match.
Knowing Mervyn as well as we do,
140.
I've actually known Mervyn personally since the end of 2008. But the first time I ever met him was in 2001. It was at Trentham Gardens in Stoke.
81.
That's where they had the national playoffs for the Winmore World Masters. And they also had the Gold Cup there.
81.
Pairs and singles. The Gold Cup that year was won by Richie Burnett. Beat Andy Jenkins in the final.
81.
I do remember the ladies' event was won by someone from Cornwall. Her name escapes me. But I know the great Sandra Greatbatch was in the semi-finals with Rhiannon Thomas. That I do remember. But I met Mervyn at that tournament. He was playing pairs with the late Sean Greatbatch. I'm not ashamed to say that when I was 21 and I met Mervyn King, I was starstruck.
80. Scott the car 160.
He was one of the biggest names in the room.
And it's fair to say that in this week, even though we got some star-studded names, he is still that biggest name in the room.
He is.
But Baker here has left himself on double 10 to level this match up at one apiece. King's going to come back for 78 to get the break and to double his lead. Baker 2 10s, up for 5s.
10.
There's a lot of doubles now.
Big chance this. Curiously, Mervyn looks more comfortable now than he did in his previous game.
Game shot
Much more comfortable.
Third leg
if we were going to sit down with
first.
Scott Baker at the end of the night, I think we might get some interesting and different words compared to what we had earlier. A man who is synonymously positive is looking pretty forlorn.
I think even Scott Baker might need a couple of minutes after tonight before he then reflects upon what has happened
100.
before his very eyes. But Mervyn King here, well, this is as good as it comes. And unlike Group A, where one perfect day on the opening day is only just one part of the job, what he has done, and particularly with everybody picking
26.
up points tonight, is if King can win this, he's on the hill. Because one win on Friday will do the job.
60.
And he could be on a collision course with Jamie Atkins again. Considering the game they had on Wednesday afternoon, who wouldn't want more of that?
100.
One thing that everybody knows about Merv is that he's very particular.
94.
I think that's one of the reasons why certain people have gravitated towards him over the years. Robert Thornton's very particular. They're very good friends.
100.
But I always remember at Barnsley when we used to sit on the same table, if there was a door open on the second level of the Metrodome that would have an effect on the airflow, he would know it before anybody else.
137.
And he would make sure that it was shut.
$105. Moving the car 110.
So King looking at 110 to open up a 3-net advantage in this match. Triple 18 leaves a double. Well, there was an argument to stay there potentially because of the live dart one,
46.
but King will stay with
Shot
the
the
boots
car
that he knows so well, and
170.
Baker's looking at the big fish.
That's about as frustrated as I've seen Scott Baker after a first dart. Wasn't even that bad a
54.
shot. It was just a little bit offline. Maybe his frustration is born from the fact that he's come into this week feeling pretty good. And it just hasn't worked out.
60. Scott the car
It could still work out.
116.
If he can find the 116, it's not going to go, so King's going to return for double 2 to open up
40.
a 3-leg buffer in this
Car 4.
match.
He's in the madhouse.
No score. Scott the car
Now he's
76.
just mad.
It's double top.
56.
It doesn't
Moving
go,
the
and
car
so King's
4.
having a look at 2s again.
Scott was undecided on dart 2 there. He wasn't sure whether to stay up top for double 18 or not.
Game shot on the third
It is
leg.
3-0.
Mervyn King.
It's a scruffy leg, but he'll take it.
Fourth leg Scott to throw first. Game on.
My point about the airflow in Barnsley, he is very particular, Merv. Everybody knows that about him. But I think that's maybe the main reason why he'd like playing here. because this Oki is well known for being a player's favourite.
121.
Speaking to him after Monday's play in the studio, that he very much enjoyed the throw. And I don't think there's many players that don't enjoy
41.
the throw here. This was specifically built and specifically tested by professional players like yourself, Chris Mason, Mark Webster, Corin Hammond, amongst many people, that to ensure that the conditions
21.
here were in tip-top condition.
Well, it wasn't just the Oki and the board. It was everything. It was the schematic of the entire stage.
100.
The positioning of the lights. Making sure there was no glare anywhere. And making sure that the cameras were not just good for TV, but in the kind of position that wouldn't put the players
86.
off.
Well, I remember there was weeks where I was covering the tracks of you and Chris Mason back at the old place in Southampton, because you were going through
100.
rigorous testing days, and they took the best part of 12 hours, didn't
Oh,
they?
yeah, absolutely. I played a test game on this stage against Martin Adams. And we loved it.
95. Scott the car 120.
Just get the feeling that Mervyn is starting to tire. He's going to win this game with comfort. He needs to get over the line soon, otherwise there is a possibility of a comeback for Scott Baker, but only if he can stay positive.
You feel as if now the battle for
70.
Scott Baker's not against his opponent, but perhaps a battle with himself.
He wouldn't be the first person to have that today. Or yesterday, should I, May?
60. Scott the car 50.
Double 16.
18.
Well, this is a
Mervyn
chance to
Car
end it.
118.
And I'm not just talking about the match, I'm talking about the night. To go out with a ton plus checkout and a perfect haul of 8 points. Okay. Don't try this at home.
$71. Scott the car 32.
I have no comment.
Game show on the fourth
Well, all we
leg,
do
Scott
know is
Baker.
this game's going on, because Baker finds the double 16. Mervyn King
Fifth leg
now
Mervyn to throw first.
forced to
Game
serve
on.
the match out.
Well, now I do have a comment. Now that the leg is over. 118, you don't go 18s first. You just don't. It doesn't make any sense.
$34.
If you get a treble, you still need a treble to leave a double on the outer ring. 14 bull, it's very similar to what he does on 80 sometimes, where he goes for 16s. He'll hit 16, 14
47.
and bullseye. Now, if you like the bullseye, fair play to you. Knock yourself out, but your opponents can expose that as a weakness. If you go treble 20, 18
60.
tops, that's ideal. If you go single 20, treble 20, at least you're on the outer ring for double 19. I am yet to find anybody
140.
who wins an argument on 18s first. All I hear from people is, oh, well, I just like it that way. It's not really a logical argument, is it?
Moving
swiftly on.
Because King's looking to wrap it up. But Baker not going to do to
81.
Mervyn what Mervyn did to Max Jong in the previous match, where Mervyn came back from 3-0 behind to win that 1-4-3. Mervyn's looking to avoid that fate himself. That's another one.
Why has that happened?
40.
I knew his darts were going in slightly more upright than usual, but it feels like he's hitting the side of the dart and it's lost power. Now, he has been throwing his upper body at some of these
24.
darts. So I just get the feeling that maybe there's a little bit of weakness in the right shoulder. I'm just spitballing with this. I'm trying to figure it out on the fly like he is. There you can see it. He's throwing the shoulder at the throat.
85.
Maybe the release is just a little late.
$43. Mervyn your car 150.
person smiling right here is Mervyn, because he's got 6 darts for this, and he might just need 3.
118.
That's an exceptional leave.
Not by convention, but he'll take it nonetheless because it's his favourite double to complete the card for the second time this
44.
week. He was
Move your car,
5 and
32.
5 on the opening day of Group A on Monday. On Thursday night, Mervyn King is a dart away from making it 4 and 4 on the opening night of Group B. No
Game showing the
mistake,
match.
and
Mervyn
Mervyn King is perfect on Thursday. He's got his Group B campaign off to the perfect start, and now only needs 1 win tomorrow night to confirm his place into the finals. At times, it was hot and bother. It was hard work for Mervyn King, but he has got everything that he needed from tonight and more. We asked, how is he going to recover from the disappointment of yesterday? Well, he has given us the perfect answer. He's beaten Scott Baker 4-1 for win number 4. Charlie Martin and Max de Jong rounds off the night's action next. Welcome back to the Modus Super Series. Final game of the evening sees Charlie Martin and Max de Jong go head-to-head. Before the break, Mervyn King completed the card. 4 wins from 4 for him as he got the better of Scott Baker by 4 legs to 1. So a perfect evening for the King as he goes into tomorrow's action. What are we going to see from this particular encounter? Should be an intriguing one between this particular pairing.
First leg, Charlie did through first.
For Charlie,
Game on.
he started so well in his game against James Richardson. Got out the gate really, really quickly. Averaged 130 after 2.5
121.
legs, but was unable to pick the points up. It was James Richardson that won 4-3 from 3-1 behind in that match. And now he's looking to close off the evening with something to shout about. The winner of this move on to 4 points
125.
alongside James Richardson. And it would mean that we'd have King on 8, the winner of this on 4 alongside James, and the other 2 players on 2 points.
57.
And we have similarity between Group C and Group B. Someone who has not lost after day 1 and will have a 4-point cushion going into day 2. And it just so happens
50.
it's the 2 most experienced dart players here this week that are in those positions.
57.
They say that money can buy many things, but one of the things it can't is experience.
$96.
That performance from Charlie. I think come tomorrow when he comes back to
87.
this venue, he will look at that game with James and think, how on earth did I let that slip?
$60.
Well, that was very high.
That was very safe. Look on the bright side, he's left to finish.
It's the biggest of the lot, but it's one nonetheless.
96. Max
And he may have to take it out with Martin leaving himself on a 2-darter.
It's all in vain.
55. Charlie look at 83.
So Martin here looking at 83 to get the opening chalk on the board.
I really do believe that Max de
43.
Jong looks at this game differently
Max
to
Ricard,
other people.
115.
He likes using the bullseye, but sometimes I do question his motives. He's looking at tops.
75. Charlie Ricard, 40.
It's now Charlie's turn on that double.
$35.
He tried to knock on
Max
3
Ricard,
doors and
40.
nobody was home.
The worst storybook ever. De Jong looking at tops. Now look at a double 10. Finds
shown the
it to
first
get the
leg, Max
break
de
into
Jong.
lead by leg to nil.
Second leg, Max to through first.
You aren't wrong. Imagine if that was a kid's book.
Game on.
Knock on the first door, nobody home. Knock on the second door, nobody's home. Knock on the third door, nobody's home. The end.
$32.
And the irony was the delivery driver was going to leave the parcel next door.
95.
In some of those cases, you do get a second chance for redelivery. As far as
100.
second chances are concerned in this group, it's going to be all about 19 hours from now when they reconvene at 10
80.
p.m. This will be the first game of Friday night. So let's say that they share the points.
60.
Both of them are on 4 points going into the second game of the evening, which will be King against Baker once again. They're going to be in the thick
42.
of it. But if somebody does the double, the person who loses twice will be in serious bother of not making Saturday.
They will be in big, big trouble. And nobody wants to be in big trouble, do they?
Especially in
59.
Little Chinatown. You haven't seen that movie, have you?
No.
With Kurt Russell. It's a beauty. It's called Big Trouble in Little China.
96.
It's a bit of an 80s classic. The kind of thing you want to watch after you finish watching live darts in the Modus Super Series. What happened there?
180.
What on earth was that follow through about? It's as if the follow through had a mind of its own.
Well, if Max de Jong had an answer, I'm sure he'd give it to us, but I don't even think he knows exactly what happened there. But he could be opening up a 2-leg lead in next to no time at all. 12 leaves tops.
Game
And
shown in the
tops
second leg,
makes it
Max de Jong.
2-0.
Third leg, Charlie to throw first. Game on.
That was a bit of a bizarre leg, wasn't it? Worked out pretty well, though.
96.
It's been a strange night, though, altogether, the truth be told.
Yeah, standard's been okay at times. We've seen a couple of
59.
great performances from James Richardson. If you consider his first 2 games, he averaged low 80s and he was defeated twice.
85.
We're thinking he's in trouble here. But then against Baker and against Martin, he produced the 2 best averages of the night.
60.
Let's face it, if you're a dart player and you're playing 4 games in a night, if someone said to you, you can win 2 games, which
100.
ones would you want them to be? You'd want them to be your last 2.
Because as we know, dart players' psyche completely changes depending on the last result of a night.
Of course it does.
82.
James was 4 from 6 on doubles, then 4 from 5. So that's 8 from 11 in his last
100.
2 games. That is exceptional. And bearing in mind as well,
95.
if you
Charlie
go to a
O'Carroll,
world championship where it's
120.
best of 5 sets, the record for that format is 9 from 11.
80.
Who would have got a record like that?
Someone from the Philippines. And somebody who was born in Newcastle.
130.
And a couple of others.
Charlie O'Carroll, 40.
Must have been Chris Dopey, that bloke from Newcastle. Anyway, Martin, look at it tops.
$20.
Uh-oh,
Max
there could be
O'Carroll,
trouble ahead.
75.
And when there's moonlight and darting, there could be love and romance on a 75 checkout.
$35.
He can't
Charlie
drag it into
O'Carroll,
tops this
20.
time.
And so Martin here will come back looking at double 10 to reduce
shown
the
the
gap
third
back
leg,
down to
Charlie
2-1.
Martin.
Not been vintage. That's his 8th dart to the double. He's eventually found the target, and that's been his problem.
Fourth leg, Max
He's
to
just
through
too many
first.
darts at the
Game on.
outer ring all evening long.
Just imagine, though, had Charlie hit double 10 crisply in his previous game, we were probably looking at a new Super Series record
100.
average. It was double 10 that cost him.
And ultimately cost him the game altogether because he'd go on, as I say, to lose that game to James Richardson, who vice versa was
83.
had a 5 on the doubles in that match.
$100.
We haven't had anybody from the Philippines here yet, have we?
No.
That's going to have to change.
$100.
No, I know Alexis Toilo's a good player, but I'm not entirely sure I've got enough time for him. He is a bit methodical.
60.
We can find him. We'll just make sure it's a week where we're on holiday.
100.
He's another one who likes a bit of chalk on his darts. My word. It was like fireworks were going off when his darts were hitting the board.
Well, the biggest problem, obviously, is the geography from here to that part of the world, which is the main reason why we don't get as many players from that region as perhaps we would like.
91.
Well, if we were to franchise the Modus Super Series, I think the natural second studio would have to be Asia.
48.
Because there's that many
Max
players.
O'Carroll, 150.
Went 3 pulls. Well, we know Max de Jong's going to do things his own way.
42.
And most of the
Charlie
time,
O'Carr,
his way is a
170.
flashy way. This would be a flashy, fishy finish.
I'm glad you said that.
44. Max O'Carr, 108.
If Marco Cantala was here, it would have been a flashy finish. Or even better, a flashy big fish finish. It's getting late, isn't it?
It's 1 a.m.
He's just loving the centre of the
70.
board.
Charlie O'Carr,
He's hit
126.
225 to leave himself double 19.
Yeah, I cannot make head nor tail of that. He might have got a look at it. Bull.
Game shown the 4th leg.
That is
Charlie
beautiful
Martin.
from Charlie. We will never know if Max de
Fifth
Jong
leg
would hit
Charlie
double
to throw
19
first.
off 225s.
And what makes this night even stranger is we said that Charlie Martin's really struggled on his doubles. He has.
59.
But then has found 3 ton plus checkouts more than anybody else in the group.
So the ingredients are there for him to be a really good player.
134.
But how many times do we talk about it? It's consistency that everybody's looking for. If you want to be a top player, you're going to have to do
96.
what top players do. Devote your life to it. You can't, in most cases, have a full-time job, a family, a friend network, and expect to be a world-class dart player as well. You can be a very good one.
98.
But if you want to be Littler, you want to be Humphreys, you want to be Rob Cross, MVG, Stephen Bunting, top 5 players in the world.
60.
What do they all have in common? When they wake up in the morning, darts is their life.
$59.
You don't see Michael van Gerwen tiling bathroom walls anymore. You don't see Stephen Bunting working in a dart shop anymore. Not even sure if
139.
Luke Humphreys has ever had a job apart from a dart player. But that's becoming more popular.
Charlie Martin here is doing a decent job of turning the screw in this match. It looked like
90.
when de Jong was
Charlie
getting
O'Carr,
himself in front, it looked
147.
like he was beginning to make short work of his opponent. Now, yes, he's left himself on 120, but Martin may fancy himself with 6 darts in hand from 147.
57.
Because de Jong has shown
Max
nowhere near the
O'Carr,
signs he can take out a
120.
ton plus finish yet. You know what that means. Cue the 120. The flashy way, double 10.
Just doesn't seem to do anything the normal way.
110.
It wasn't on purpose,
Charlie
of course. He
O'Carr,
was going
90.
high for the single. Well, this is obviously 2 double 19s and double 7. I'm just speculating because of what's happening. It's double 5.
Game shown the 5th
That's how
leg,
you do
Charlie
it.
Martin.
Beautiful finishing. It feels like a ton plus checkout.
6 leg Max to through first. Game on.
In some senses, it is an all but name, isn't it? The way that it's broken down to finish off is no different to, say, a 104 or 106. But regardless of the number, Martin's now 3-2 to the good.
60.
And remember, he was 2-0 down in this contest.
In a way, a 90 checkout like that is better than 120.
100.
Because you do feel a little bit different when you're going for an odd number double like 5 instead of 20. When you're going for tops, you're never thinking about
95.
missing it low, missing it high. But on double 5, you have this little darting demon in your brain that says, whatever you do, don't go low.
97.
That follow through is something that we saw in his previous game.
45.
He's losing feel on the dart. That's what I can see anyway. And this is something that Charlie can expose.
100.
He may just be ready to get 4 legs in a row here.
Got to give credit here where credit's due. For Max de Jong, he's going to be scratching his head all day tomorrow
55.
as to how the end outcome is this. There's a couple of games in a row now that he's absolutely dominated. 3-0 up against Mervyn King. It was a couple of legs up in this one. And Charlie Martin now, to all
93.
intents and purposes, is moving towards the finishing line.
A 4-2 victory for
59.
Charlie would get him
Charlie O'Carr,
to 4
111.
points and all square on the leg difference, exactly the same as James Richardson. It's in his hands.
And 6 starts from this
51.
point to do exactly that. He's left himself on 60 upon his return. Should get 2 at tops to get the job done. 4 points is a return that, yes, A, you'll have to
83.
accept, but
Charlie
I
O'Carr,
think B,
60.
maybe he would have accepted at the beginning of the night's play. Double top to complete a 4-2 win.
40.
But it
Max
doesn't go.
O'Carr,
He's given de Jong a
104.
glimmer.
There's still hope. No. No, no, no.
84.
It's so wrong.
Charlie O'Carr, 20.
But is this going to be so right on the night for Charlie Martin, double 10? He's had so many issues on this.
Game
But
shown
there's
on the
no
match,
issue
Charlie
there.
Martin.
Charlie Martin ends his night with 4 points to his name. He's got the better of Max de Jong by 4 legs to 2 in the final game of the evening session. 4 points for Charlie Martin overnight. He's going to have to accept that. He shakes his head actually as he comes back down the stage. A 4-2 win for Charlie Martin against Max de Jong. That rounds off the night's action here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. Reaction and analysis to come in the Pluto TV studio in a few moments' time. Are you ready to lift that trophy, Darius?
Yes.
Let's do it then.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Modus Super Series 9 champion is Lucky D, Darius Labanowski!
Well, what a wonderful night of darts we have seen, and we are ready. Our champion is ready, and it's trophy time. So receive the trophy. £25,000. The new Modus Super Series champion, the Terminator, Marvin Van Velzen. And one more time, the 8th Modus Super Series champion, the Terminator, Marvin Van Velzen. And the new Modus Super Series champion is Andreas Dirty Harrison. And one more time, the 7th Modus Super Series champion. Give it up for Andreas Dirty Harrison!
The moment we've all been waiting for. Would you please show your appreciation for your Series 6 Modus Super Series champion, Scott Taylor!
One more time, your new Modus Super Series champion. He is Chuck
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where Thursday night's action here, the live lounge in Portsmouth, has come to a close. An intriguing night's worth of action, but a night where Mervyn King has won all 4 of his games. He's top of the table, and he's got a bit of a buffer at the top of it as well going into Friday night's proceedings. This is how it looks. Mervyn King at the top, 8 points to his name, and actually the only player for positive legs difference as well. Charlie Martin, because of the margin of victory before the break, has gone above James Richardson on legs 1 this evening. Both of them are on 4 points. Max de Jong and Scott Baker with just the 1 win from their Thursday evening's worth of play. Mervyn King has joined myself and Paul Nicholson in the studio to reflect upon tonight's action. 4 wins from 4. I bet you're really pleased about that. Overall, how would you feel the night's gone?
Not great. Didn't play very well. If you look at the results, you think, the boys played well, really well. There was a couple there that I played okay, and there was a couple there that I played pants, really, to be fair. Got away with it. If you'd looked at it on Wednesday night, you'd have thought, Merv's going to make it through, or Tuesday night, Merv's going to make it through. No. There we go. That starts, that's the way it goes. You're not going to play out of your skin every night. I had a brilliant day on the Monday. It was, I'd say probably about 85%, 90% of what I could do. It was decent. The next day was pretty diabolical. And the following day, I got away with murder and managed to end up second in the group. So tonight is nothing compared with what could happen. It's great, lovely, top of the group. But who knows? We all know that someone can throw a spanner in the works or a curveball, and things can go pretty sort of the other way.
Is it fair to say that was a bit of a workmanlike performance tonight? Yeah,
definitely. I had to work hard tonight, especially against Max. 3-0 up he was, and I had to fight and fight and fight. And to be honest with you, I took the chances I got, but I really shouldn't have had those chances. But he allowed it, not me. It wasn't me putting him under pressure. It was maybe a couple of throws I did, but it was Max not crossing that line, and sometimes that's hard. Sometimes to get over that line is harder than hitting 100 average. And I don't think it was because I put him under pressure. Maybe a couple of throws I did, and I might have, I don't know, got away with it a little bit. But I think Max had, I had to give him a hug in the back room because he was pretty distraught. And he went, oh, wow. I went, look, don't put yourself down, boy, because you were playing well. He went, yeah, but I do that quite often. I went, just don't, because it happens to us all, not just you, me. Look at the Masters, 9-2 up, lose the Masters, a major tournament. So don't put yourself down. It does happen, and it happens to everybody now and again.
Nico, what would be your assessment? We saw some of the highlights of Mervyn's night. How would you look back at it from your perspective?
Absolutely workmanlike. I know he's fascinated to see what I'm going to say here. But the thing is, you don't have to necessarily be the best player on the night to get the 8 points. We've seen the best standard from James Richardson. His last 2 games were excellent, averaging 96 a couple of times. But he had a bad start and a really good second half. But Mervyn was able to win against the people that were in front of him on the night, and that is the name of the game. And he's talking very eloquently about the fact that tonight was a good night results-wise. But because of the complexity of Group B, because he hasn't been here before, he probably doesn't know that 1 win tomorrow night will get him there, because you've got such a great buffer. I know that we spoke with Steve West a little bit earlier. He won 5 out of 5 this afternoon, or yesterday afternoon, but he's already targeting getting another 5. And I suppose Mervyn will feel exactly the same about Friday night.
Just want to quickly touch upon a couple of the other players. James Richardson, the start of the night didn't go to plan, but he really found a gear, didn't he, in the second half of the evening?
Yeah, he really did. He was pushed into something ridiculous by Charlie Martin, who was in orbit with his average after a couple of legs, but some key misses at double 10 for him meant that Richardson was given the opportunity to get back into the game, and it just goes to show that no matter what you do, if you can stick in a 96, 97 average overall, that can usurp a lot of higher numbers.
Can I just interrupt here, right? You're talking about James Richardson, who's capable of hitting 110 plus when he's on it. When he's really, really on it, that man is quite phenomenal, right? You're forgetting that he actually smashed Raymond van Barneveld in a tournament, right? Not a lot of people remember that or speak about it, and he was quite phenomenal that day. And he is still that player. He's still got it in him. I was just fortunate that I got him first game tonight when he wasn't really warmed up. If I'd have had him last game tonight, who knows? He might have done me 4-0.
He's got him last game come Saturday morning.
And that'd be interesting to see. Mervyn, many congratulations tonight. Thank you for popping up and joining us once again. Nico, always enjoy your company on a Thursday. We should do it again tomorrow. Plenty coming up across Pluto TV. Once we're done, the latest edition of the Tungsten Talk series is going to feature the 2022 WDF World Champion Neil Duff. We'll be talking about his success at the Lakeside 3 years ago now, as well as his weekly titles that he's claimed here at the Super Series as well. That on top of a real bumper load of action that we've got for you here across Pluto TV. The grand final of the ADC Global Championship will be replayed into the wee hours of the morning, then we'll be back for a double helping of Super Series action. 1 o'clock, we get underway with the afternoon session. 10 o'clock, we get underway with the night session, and it's all building up to finals night Saturday evening, 7:30 p.m. here, all live on Pluto TV. But as far as Group B is concerned, it's all about Mervyn King. 4 wins from 4. 1 win tomorrow will be enough for him. From all of us here, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye for now.
What a finish! What a man!
The drum roll finishes, and the target is...
And that was it! And it comes on finals night, and it's another Duty
$54. Charlie McGuire, 164. $44. $32. Charlie required 120.
Well, 120. He's got a fair, at least 2 handfuls at this. Just needs to stay
60.
there. That's a good shot. Halves his score, leaves himself on a 2-darter.
$26. Charlie
Time on his
required
side
60.
to become back-to-back singles champion.
$40.
Definitely a couple of nerves in those last 2 darts, but he'll be coming back.
It's a moment he's been in before this situation. Standing at the back of the stage,
Charlie
approaching the
required
Yoki with a
20.
chance to win the title.
He did this to win the first title, if you remember.
11.
I think he's gone.
Georgia
I think he's gone to
180.
bust it, maybe. The first title he won, he wanted 20. He went 6-7-7 to win it. He had a chance to replicate it again.
Yeah, I get the feeling that was for a bust, and
39.
on that situation there, George Scaife wasn't even able to take it out going to the 18s on that switch.
Yeah, I think he just panicked a bit, but he's done well to get that big one.
Sometimes can be the hardest part.
Georgia requires
This is it.
79.
It's got to be 19s. It's got to be 19s for this shot. Big 20 and a double. He's got the first one. He's going to get a match dart here.
Charlie
Threw the entire body into that one. Just didn't want to let go of the dart.
No score.
He's given George a chance.
Georgia require 20.
I think George has been quite good on double 10 today.
So many opportunities for Charlie Murphy. Couldn't get the job done.
And the match! And the Red Dragon
George
Modus
Scaife.
Super Series Influencers Champion, George Scaife!